What is going on, everybody? Awesome to see y'all up in here. We've got a great Chicago Bears game to break down. I wanted to say hey in the chat to Exhalation Yogi, to Jeremy, and a whole bunch of the others that have already jumped in, said what's up. What's up to all of y'all? We've got a fun game, at least I think so, to break down. A lot of ups, hey, some downs too, and if anything else, a really intriguing one, because one thing that I'll start out with the opening monologue, hey Lorenzo, how are you doing, is it is incredibly interesting to see how this team is going to progress. And if anything else, I know one thing on defense. I want to start not with defensive analysis, like breaking it down, because we're gonna do a lot of offense. Come on, guys. What did you think? Did you think we were going to come into the Bears connecting on a whole bunch of deep passes, and I was going to talk about a strugglesome defensive performance? Come on. We all know that's not how it's going to go. But so, absolutely, Reinhardt, thanks so much for jumping in. One thing I think is interesting, if nothing else, about this defensive showing is it reminded me that, so first of all, I will say, because Akus, I asked how much of our defense was due to the Lionsing. Actually, I thought that the Lions had a really good offensive game plan. Think about what happened with the Rams and Dalton. You remember how I talked a lot about how when Dalton played that Los Angeles Rams team, it was like he inched his way down the field. The Rams would hand you running room, and they would hand you underneath throws. And the Lions, they ran a lot of creative pick plays. They ran a really solidly put together run game that attacked the Bears in their weak areas. They just scouted the Bears well, schemed up some looks that attacked Bears' weaker areas, things like Ogletree, things like Duke Shelley, things like when you've got Bilal Nichols and Robert Quinn and Alec Ogletree all in the same spot. Like, they just took 4 yards at a time. I mean, later in the game, sure, it started to get a little more stretched out, right? You started to get these 20-yard gainers that the defense seemed off the back foot. But if anything else, I would offer that you take a deep breath and say to yourself that the Bears defense played extremely well against Cincinnati, they played extremely well against Cleveland, and they had a down game against a trap opponent. I get the impression that the Bears defense, as silly and as simple as this is going to sound, is that the Bears defense took the Lions lightly. The Lions, thank you so much, Waleed, for jumping in. The Lions came in with a good plan. Anthony Lynn had his head on straight on how he was going to attack the Bears, and they being the Lions, ground out yards by yards by yards by yards by yards, and credit to them. I mean, they marched all the way into the tough area a bunch throughout the game, and then the Bears started to shut them out once they would get to that within 10-yard region. Basically, I would tell you that with what seemed like a banged-up Akeem Hicks, a Eddie Goldman that wasn't exactly firing off the ball, don't want to say he played badly, he just was caught in a whole bunch of movement-based offensive line schemes that the Lions threw at him, I would tell you, overall, I wouldn't worry about it yet. I mean, I think personally, this Bears defense was always going to struggle to play extraordinary football for 17 weeks in a row. And for them to have a down week after 2 very, very good weeks in a bend don't break game where they ultimately they caught a break, that Bilal Nichols bounce off the chest, like recover a fumble that might as well be an interception. That's not supposed to happen. But they had a 4th down stop that was no joke. They had a Robert Quinn forced turnover that had been coming for quite some time. I mean, exactly like you're saying, Reinhardt, they were close to breaking. They just didn't quite break. And they were strong in the right areas. Again, don't mark it down as a good showing. Mark it down as, I'm not worried until it happens twice in a row, basically, because I would expect them to have a down week this week and look better. Not incredible. If they just shut out the Raiders, I will be very surprised. It's a very good team that they would be shutting out. And they've got a lot of very solid receivers, but that's the general attitude that I would hand out. Is this Bears defense I would almost tell you that they got out schemed, but Robert Quinn had a really solid game. Travis Gibson had a very, very, very good game, especially in the second half. It felt like he really came on. But we're here, if I've read the room correctly, to talk about offense, because we've got so much stuff that we can go through here when it comes to what the Bears were doing, where I think they'll get better, what I'd like to see them change. Akusai, I don't know. I think it's a scoring error because basically they don't want to mark it as a sack that then gained 6 yards. You're supposed to lose yards on a sack when it comes to the fumble, but normally they should score it as a fumble. But yeah, I mean, to give out some general thoughts on the Raiders game, because we'll get there. Defensively, I do think Renfro versus probably Duke Shelley or Kendall Vildor is going to be a bit of a problem. I think that the Bears' defensive backfield, like especially the very far backfield, the safeties, are going to get tested, to say the least. And the last time they got tested like this would be, obviously, the Rams game, which is not one that we want to repeat. But I get the impression that the safeties are in better position nowadays. I don't think Eddie Jackson's been sleeping on the field. He's certainly not been incredible. He seems to make one massive glaring mistake every single time, but at least hard to tell because Deion Bush and Tashawn Gibson have both gotten picked on here and there, but we've already gone, what is this, 10 minutes now? Maybe about 5 minutes, and we haven't even shown any film. So the number one thing that I want to really dial into is that I want to dive in to how this Bears offense works, what they did, why it looked different, why it felt different as we get into the Fields marrying with Laser. And obviously, we've all heard the news. Justin Fields is QB. Come on, give me a B. That'll do. 1. He's a starter for the rest of the year. I don't know if you've heard it. You should have heard it. But at this point, Bill Laser and Justin Fields are going to be the new QB-OC pairing for quite some time. Like, we've got at least a solid offense that may be able to grind some stuff out. At least I feel better about it than I did against Cleveland. But yeah, exactly, Derek. Finally, the offense has an identity. Whether you like it or not, let's dive into it. I've got a little bit of coffee over here to perk myself up here at 9 p.m., but let's dive in, shall we? So the Bears came out against the Lions with a very clear directive, and I'm sure you guys know what it is. I mean, they came out looking to run the ball 100%. They received the ball. They wanted to show that they had something on offense. Tesh, great to see you. And they've started lining up in a lot of heavy tight end sets. So you're going to see a lot of condensed formations. You're going to see a priority on under center with one wide receiver kicked out. Honestly, I like this. And I'm not normally a 12, 13 personnel guy. Thank you so much, Spirit Eagles. Thank you for supporting the channel, seriously. But what this does that I really, really appreciate, we have to start with this because obviously we're going to see running game, right? But the key for me is that whenever the Bears want to leverage more blockers off of play action, they've got every ability to do so. Exactly like Akusai is saying, we were downright awful in 12 and 13 personnel sets last year. But in this case, what I like about it is that you've got extra blockers on the end that if you want to use that play action set, instead of having 5 guys where it's like, well, how are you going to get an extra blocker out there? You can drop back with 6 guys and a running back, get into those 7-man protection sets a little bit easier. And that's like foreshadowing for what we're about to get into because Bears did a lot of that. But obviously it starts with the ground game. And the Bears were able to leverage that actually a lot better than I think I anticipated. Big kudos here to Jason Peters. You're going to see him make a lot of plays. Big old number 71. Where right here, he does a very solid job taking the leverage that he has and moving his guy from about there to there. It's not incredibly hard. I don't want to make it out like this is some super heroic block, but you've got to be able to move the man in outside zone, whether you're moving them laterally or backwards. In this case, he takes him about 2 yards backwards and way off to the side. Montgomery, may he come back soon, was able to get into that. And like you're saying, Ryan, I don't want to spoil too much, but it's obviously hard in a breakdown. I could spend 5 hours and it would still be complicated to get the point across. He ditched a lot of the Anonymous. You should see a link down in the description, by the way. But so the Bears were able to basically ditch a lot of the quick read stuff that they wanted to do in the Cleveland game, and instead gave Fields a much lighter plate on what he basically envisioned this, okay? So some quarterbacks make their bread and butter. Nick Foles, when he won his Super Bowl, fit into this category. This is the Andy Dalton ball that we saw at the start of the season, where they're not going to throw long, but they're going to make quick decisions, and they're going to throw the ball into shorter areas. So the throw is less difficult. It's a shorter throw, right? Usually to somebody who is in a spot too soon to be open, right? But instead, Justin Fields is basically playing in an offense where he holds the ball for longer, but he has to make more difficult throws. So instead of using the RPO game where Fields has to make a quick decision that he's not near as experienced in at the NFL level, his throwing opportunities were a little bit more, look, they weren't prescribed. They were just more standard, or they were longer winded. Instead of having to make instant decisions where you're toast, he instead had to change, or he instead got longer windows to make throws. The throws just had to be difficult, but we will dive into all of that. The Bears ran the heck out of the ball. Here they are on now 1st and 10. And I think this is Fields' first throw where he actually does get an RPO, and he hits this one on time. We talked a lot about this. I can't believe that was last week, by the way. But the Bears are basically going to run a quick spot. Hard to tell in these settings where they are play action versus an RPO. Let's watch the offensive line. Maybe I missed something. I think it's just a straight play action pass because the line blocks or drops back like that. They didn't want to give Fields too much to think about, basically. And in this case, you're going to see that actually bears some fruit because he's already throwing as Mooney gets to his spot and then just kicks the ball to him. Bears gain. It's like 4 yards, so it's nothing to just go bananas. We're not planning the parade off of this throw, but you can almost get the sense from his first throw on the All-22 anyways, that he's operating a little bit quicker than he did at the very least. He's operating, quicker than he did against Cincinnati, and you can see the fruit of that because Sam Mustipher, and he's got James Daniels helping him out, but off of this stunt, Sam Mustipher gets right up next to Justin Fields, but it's faster. And exactly like you're saying, Jordan, it's a quicker release. And Glenn, he did stare that down all the way, 100%. I feel like now we've got to we got to talk about it. What you're seeing when he stares it down is that the Bears are running. Let me see. All right, I'm going to take a guess here, by the way, but I think that they're having him flare into the flat because it's not. It's going to be. I think it's Montgomery who goes to the flat. It isn't. It's the tight end. Thank goodness I checked. Basically, let me drop the concept that they're running. It's easy. So the gist of what they've got is it's a play off of like a spot flat sort of thing where Mooney's going to come over here and he's going to sit down about there. Actually, I think it's a little deeper. It's like there-ish with the tight end coming into the flat, and all Fields has to do is read one specific player. Like, all he's got to, I think it's this linebacker is either going to settle into this zone based on a cover 2 setup, assuming that they stick in cover 2, or he's going to follow the tight end. And if he follows the tight end to the space, he's going to vacate to where Mooney's open. So you're going to see Fields stare at one area of the field, but he's watching the defender 100%. Like, he's looking at this guy right here. Thank you so much, Anonymous. That is outstandingly helpful. So as he watches this, he's going to see that guy leaves because right now, obviously, it looks like he's looking at Mooney, but he's, again, watching the defender. And once the defender clears, like as he gets out of the way, he gets rid of the ball. Mooney catches it. Again, don't plan the parade. Just want to sit on that because you don't see him throw a ton of timing stuff. We're going to get into the so sexy throws that Fields lets go of throughout this game. Don't you worry. But that was a nice one that we saw at least an improvement over last week, and that was a big plus. So then they went right back to running the heck out of the ball. And this, not Peters' greatest play. But this was one, I like the wind back concept, so they're going to have Cole Kmet come straight across to come make a block, which allows everybody else to man up everyone else on the line. And I think if memory serves, this guy gets through Whitehair and Peters, who I almost got the impression on this play that the Bears misidentified something because at the very least. And George, maybe he was open. Generally speaking, you let that deep guy go as a decoy. You don't, you take your deep shots when you take your deep shots, as silly as this is going to sound. And when you're going to throw short, you often dial up a 1-2 short concept like that one. And you get the idea. Hey, Sean. Glad you're doing well. I saw the wedding pictures. I need to look through those soon. But so, anyways, so we've got Kmet coming across the formation. He's going to get that right there. Peters and the line kind of seem to get confused a little bit. I don't really know where Mustipher is going because it seems like Mustipher heads on past them. I think Mustipher would be trying to reach around. Honestly, on this specific run play, it just seemed like they kind of got out of sorts. But that happens from time to time, and we move on. We don't need to go through every single play. I know I can get really caught up in going through every single play, but you just generally saw quicker throws on these sorts of decision-making moments from Fields as he started to march the ball down the field, and you could almost feel that the Bears offense was just priming themselves for what they were going to do there in the second and third quarter. But so one other thing that I want to point out is on this specific play, the Bears picked up a stunt pretty well. Like if you watch what goes on with the defensive line, you're going to see the Lions pull off what looks like a long edge stunt. And credit to Mustipher and the rest of the offensive line. They see it, they get in the way, Fields is able to get the ball out. Now, would it have been pressure had it been a longer concept? Probably, but that's part of why you throw these short things. Like, you want to do that to try to take a little bit of steam out of the offensive line. This, by the way, this is exactly what the Bears are going to be missing. So memory serves, this is 2nd and 11 because this is the one thing that we don't get is like actually the down and distance. But so what I'm loving about these formations is that if we could all be really honest with ourselves, right? We basically are staring at a Bears offense who has Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, and some guys, right? I'm not trying to come out of, it might be 4th and 1. Thank you, Akusai. If it is, that makes a lot. Yes, it is 4th and 1. Thank you for remembering, because I know I didn't. But so the Bears set up in these kinds of formations, and in my opinion, this gives them a lot of flexibility because if they want to have Mooney and A-Rob run like some sort of quick hitch or a slant or something like that, you can do a whole lot of things with just 2 receivers that ultimately helps make the quarterback's job a little easier because he doesn't have to process 5 options like the Bears were throwing at him in Cincinnati and in the Cleveland game where they just say, you got 5 guys to throw to. And what does that help the rookie with? Generally speaking, they can barely get through not him, throw to him. Like, it's trouble to get through 3, let alone trying to get through 5, especially on pick-aside kinds of concepts. So I feel like for this setting, this is exactly the kind of formation you want. And credit to Montgomery. I mean, he powers through a tackle here because Graham and the rest of the defense or the offensive line, they just battle. They basically seem like they just cluster everything up there. Okay, that's all Peters, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but Graham. You're going to see what looks like Peters, Graham, and Whitehair just plow this side of the line in. And I'm curious as to what goes on the other side. Yeah, it looks like everybody's pinching in, and Montgomery's basically just picking a side to attack. But they win their battle like hardcore, and so Montgomery ends up one-on-one right here, and bang, breaks a tackle, turns it into like 8 more yards. Bright side about this play, as far as what the Bears wanted to do, it looks as if, okay, so if he just got hit and fell forward, probably still gets the yards. Like, credit to him. But so, Montgomery being the stud that he is, he just snaps through the tackle like the guy's not even there. This is something that Montgomery does that I've always thought is incredible. He's basically able to just manipulate contact really, really well. Like, he can turn this contact into something where he's got his shoulder on this guy's arm, so he's got all of the leverage that he needs to just use the strong lower body he's got to break through the tackle and keep going. Especially linebackers and defensive backs I've seen have real trouble bringing Montgomery down. And it's not magic, it's not voodoo, it's the ability to control the contact, and that's something that I think Montgomery does really well. Again, Hopefully his knee really is just a strain. I can't believe it's just a strain given the way things were, but yeah, he's a heck of a player. But so then they just kept lining up in these exact kinds of formations, and they kept running the ball, which helps set up the play action later. Credit to him. I do think they could have used a little more. I know that there are some in the chat, Jordan, I'm looking at you, that think that a lot of us ask for too much play action, but, and Akusai, it's probably not. We could probably walk through the injury. But so basically, I personally think that you could run up to 35, maybe 40% play action. I've seen McVay, Shanahan, et cetera, do that all the time. I think that would actually work really well for Fields because I love the ball in his hands on standard play action sets. But credit to them, even if it was just for one game, they ran the ball on what felt like 67% of their offensive snaps, if not more. And cheeky little designs like this, where what you're going to see is it looks like, I think that's Jesse James and Jermaine Ifedi are going to double team this guy right here with Kmet taking a one-on-one on the outside. And once they do that, they're basically able to crack open a window that looks like outside zone, but really it's sort of, look, I don't want to call it a trick play. It's not a trick. It's just a deliberate attempt to open the... Oh gosh, now I gotta pick what gap this is. Generally, you'd just call this like the C gap, but if we were gonna go all the way through, just in case y'all don't know how gaps work. So it starts on the center. We've got the A gap, the B gap, the C gap, the D gap. Somebody who knows more than I do, because I tend to doubt you're calling this the E gap for sure. But like I love this concept of they use this to basically just open a window that 75 never sees coming, and it's just 5 yards, maybe 6 after contact, closer to 4, but it shows the different ways that their Bears were willing to run the ball, which I think is really cool. And exactly, like, there are really cool things. Like, you can't necessarily just spam play action passes, but I remember what Staley was saying, though, that I think is so core, is that Brandon Staley was basically saying, you don't have to run the ball to run play action. Running the ball effectively helps play action, but you don't need it to do it. And especially given that where the Bears were in terms of running the ball, especially early, I thought that these kinds of shots became almost common. The Lions played a lot of cover 3, but if you can already tell, this is the Mooney ball, and this is, hilariously enough, Fields' worst throw of the day. Like, I would, or at least I think so, in terms of just a raw accuracy perspective. Like, it's a gorgeous concept. This is exactly the kind of thing. It's the Lions. They're not going to defend everything perfectly, but the Bears basically suss out with the early Kmet movement that they're in zone, and the Bears don't kill to anything. I think they were always going to go with this kind of play, but you're going to see the receivers that are on the field basically just pull the whole defense backwards. But what I want you to really notice on this specific play is just how much this helps out the offensive line. So they've got Kmet back here as a 6th offensive lineman, if you will. And credit to him, credit to Kmet. So I've seen a lot of talk about him blocking an edge rusher one-on-one. He gets to there later. But I do think Kmet really helped. Like, at the very least, having the tight end consistently there stymies those 5-man blitzes that I'm sure you guys who've been watching the stream consistently have seen us talk about, that whenever teams, the Browns did this all the time, that they would just throw 5-man blitzes at the Bears, and the Bears' offensive line could just about do nothing about it. In this case, you're able to give the tackles help. You're able to also make sure that the guards in the center are in decent position. And I mean, check this out. This pocket was consistent. Part of it's just the Lions, I know, but play action is going to be the saving, or I would say the Bears' saving grace, because if the Bears could generate open pockets for Nick Foles last year, they can certainly generate them for Justin Fields, so long as their running game stays even just okay. But I loved this theoretical plan because then you give the Bears enough time where you've got, what is this? Allen Robinson and Damiere Byrd drawing the attention of roughly 4 defenders. But so then, let's see. Yeah, and then Mooney gets wide open right there. Fields lets the ball go. And again, massive credit to Mooney. massive credit to Mooney. He's able to like make a fat one-handed catch that's just wild. This is very impressive. I love watching these massive feats of athleticism because that ball shouldn't be caught. Like, all things told, probably shouldn't catch this, but he does. So, again, huge credit to him. Maybe this is exactly the play Justin Fields needed, because you got to think that after throwing the ball about 4, maybe 8 total yards to this point, and a rough day after Cleveland, like, this was the classic rookie needs his team to help him out thing. And so, or play. Mooney's able to come down with it. Nice. Like, that was great. And so, I don't know if this energized everything, but man. Okay, Jordan wants to talk footwork. Let's take a look. So, let's see. He drops back, and yeah, okay, I can see it a little bit. Now, granted, I'm not a footwork genius, but basically what it looks like, he gets into his set, and then he seems as if he gets his heels awfully close together. What is it? JP likes to call this heel clicking. And so then, because of that bump, he kind of overstrides just a smidge and opens up his heels, or doesn't quite get his hips through enough. And the crow hop basically just sends the ball a little bit too far. But hey, early rookie mistake. As you see, Mooney makes the play anyways, and Fields obviously pays him back later with a massive statistical day. But so we've got, yeah, we can, there's some of these that I get the impression that we could just sort of pass through. The Bears just ran the ball a lot, and I want to just make it so clear that they came into this game wanting to run the ball, and they made sure to do it from all sorts of formations. In this case, we're looking at a shotgun run. They've been doing a ton of under center stuff, but they know that they're going to be in the shotgun, so credit to them. The Bears make sure that they've got to, or that the opposing offense has to follow or at least play the run a little bit out of the shotgun. Now, would I like to see a little bit of zone read action out of the shotgun? Maybe. And that's kind of what this is, as a matter of fact. But so in this setting, they're able to then at least force them to honor the run a little more throughout the rest of the game. And finally, the Bears hit on toss crack partially because of it. This is like why toss crack is fun. This is great stuff. What you're going to see is that the Bears basically catch Detroit, who is playing zone, and we know this because Allen Robinson, as he moves across, he's got this guy. Oh, come on, Penn. Come on, Penn. Where'd you go, Penn? Ooh. Okay. Oh, I double-clicked. That'll do it. Penn's back. All right, so we can see that this guy basically shuffled from outside to in. He shuffled from here to there. So they're in zone. They're coming across. But what the Bears are able to do with this is that they've got Peters coming over, Kmet hitting his block, one other guy in space, and Allen Robinson coming through, so everybody has a man. Credit to them. They're able to totally nail this, and they do a great job with it. If anything, I almost wonder if Williams stepped out of bounds just a smidge early, but I'm not trying to criticize the guy over getting a first down by any means. This is just what toss crack's supposed to be, and Bears fans have just about grown to hate toss crack because it's never worked. But credit to Laser, he was able to put the Bears into position where, against his own defense that wasn't going to move, the Bears added a man, because your goal in the running game, if it's not obvious, is to just make sure you have enough blockers to take out all the defenders on that side. Like, that's the case. And so you generally want to attack these exact kinds of matchups and do well. Is that musty on the ground? Yes, it is, Reinhardt. So we'll take a look here. you can watch what happens to Sam Mustipher. It's nothing specific because it's toss crack. He's practically out of the play. But in terms of what he does, he just trips right there on a defensive lineman. Let's see. The goal isn't 3 blocker. Hang on. Akusa, I'm trying to understand your question. Let's see. Ooh, the goal isn't 3 blockers to an overloaded left side. I'm not sure. Yeah, just let me know what you were thinking. But in this case, yeah, they were able to just get there. But so, toss crack works great. I love that sort of thing. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Now I got you, Akusai. We're talking about the Browns game because that one was fun. Now, one thing that was hilarious, we'll go through a whole lot of this sort of thing, but I did think it was a little just statistically funny that Fields didn't end up with a score. So Fields ends up with, like we saw, that throw to Mooney. Poor as it was, his arm, the running game, I would argue the running game earned this touchdown in particular. I even think it might be off this play. It is. So on this play, by the way, watch Jason Peters. Like, you talked about him being a unit. Ooh, check this out. Jason Peters goes crazy here, taking out 2 guys by himself. Like, credit to Cole Kmet, who also is pretty feisty on this one. But Peters on this play takes out 1 guy, takes out a 2nd guy, so he links up right there on the triple team with him, and I think that's Holtz. But then he takes out 55 100% by himself, just drills him, opens the door for Montgomery to plow on through. That's the kind of thing that's pretty fun to watch, like especially from your left tackle. I'm seeing a whole lot of of Charles Leto related stuff. Yeah, you're right. And so they're able to open the door. One thing, by the way, that you will see a lot, I think Kmet did a really good job blocking. Like, there are pieces to his receiving game that as a second-round tight end I would like to see a little bit more of. And I don't necessarily think it's all scheme, and I don't think it's just because he slipped on wet grass. But in Kmet's case specifically, he did get used as a very, very versatile tight end that hopped around and was probably the Bears' best blocker overall. At the very least, Kmet doesn't give off the impression he's just going to block, quite like J.P. Holtz does. But I do want to see when the Bears get there, because right now they're not really attacking the middle of the field as heavily as a tight end might want them to, but they're going to need to get the tight ends involved eventually. This is like offense 1.0 basically, but we'll talk through that as we get there, because this offense might as well have been debuting what they want to do, to where other defenses now have to basically figure it out. So then the Lions get a solid little drive. Bears have basically spent the majority of the first half just running the ball, or not first half, but the first drive. They just ran it. Ooh, is this it? Yes. This is maybe the most Lions play I have ever seen, by the way. Like, this play specifically is the definition of what I have known the Lions to be. That they get all the way down, second drive. They're supposed to answer, right? And here, Jared Goff comes through because he sees Ogletree showing blitz, tries to tell his center, and the ball pops to Nichols, who somehow catches it. Like, incredible, in my opinion. But you get the idea. Like, that it's the sort of thing that I just thought was hilarious. And exactly, like, Goff's just standing here like, you have got to be kidding me. Oh, that's not it. Let's right there, just kind of staring off into space. I thought that was hilarious. And yeah, this was right after they just about lost the interception. But the ball doesn't lie, I guess you say. And the Bears get a lucky break as they come back into this. So then they line up again under center. They really go after it, trying to run the ball a little bit more. They get another wind back block, and this time Whitehair gets beat. And I think this shift confuses everybody. This is just a guess, but okay. I will explain, or I'll show you the play, and then we can all kind of try to figure out what happens. So 91 bursts straight through the offensive line, and Whitehair is way, way behind him. Like, way behind him. And he gets tackled for pretty much no gain at all. Now, watching this play again, 91 starts over here to where he would be clearly Whitehair's responsibility, and Mustipher would be double teaming right there with Daniels trying to move up because they're running outside zone, which basically just means find the guy nearest to you in line and you go from there. So then, like, what happens is they shift gaps right there. And I would think that that the Bears' assignments would then change, where they would know that Mustipher's got to pitch in there, Daniels is going to jump on him, but only after Ifedi pitches in there, so that they can get extra blockers over here. But but that doesn't happen. Instead, Mustipher just leaves, and I get the impression Whitehair gets mad about it because Whitehair does what he can, and then he just looks straight at Mustipher. And I don't know what the conversation is in this setup, but you can see Whitehair just like, come on, man, what are you doing? And so, again, last thing I want this channel to be known for is piling on to Sam Mustipher, but this is definitely a mistake that you don't want to see forever. You're happy that it had happened against the Lions. Whatever drew up the next play, I'm just glad it happened. But so the Bears line up in what feels like an ultra max protect shotgun set. And I think it's hilarious that they just lined up this tight, but in the shotgun. They take the snap. They drop back. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So just 5-man protection with 2 separate checkdowns. But as you guys can probably remember, this is a seam shot to cover 3. Like this is the shot that probably made everybody in the NFL world go, oh my gosh, whoa. And the way you generally beat, because I saw Jordan talking about it in there, that you want to do, the way you generally want to beat cover 3 is by attacking these seams right here. You want to try to catch people there. And the Bears do just that. They send Mooney right up the side as they look to, or they, like, what is it, right here? Fields basically sees that this corner is just a smidge flat-footed and that this safety's way over on the other side of the hash. So you can actually see Fields checking him right here because he knows Mooney's about to space this guy. And from there, I mean, I don't want to be too hyperbolic and say something corny like history is made, but you guys felt it too. Like, every Bears fan in this chat knows exactly what I'm talking about. This throw was beyond a thing of beauty because of how just rare it was. This was everything that we could have ever hoped for, as the Bears are able to basically they've got a whole bunch of check down options for Fields, but in this case, because let's see, I don't think it's a Y leak necessarily, because normally leak generally has the guy going a little further downfield. But let's see, John, as the crow flies, like, I love doing this, by the way, just seeing where they throw it from. So Fields throws it after a bit of a hop from the 3 and smokes Mooney in the hands at the 52, it looked like, if you will. So it's 48. Consider it the 52. So that's about 49 yards with a little bit of lateral movement. So I'm not going to make a hypotenuse, but down the field wise, that's a 49-yard bomb that just nails Mooney in the hands. And this is something that the Bears offense has been missing since I've watched them. I mean, just about ever. With Cutler, we had it, but it was very inconsistent. Gotcha, Jordan. Apologies. I didn't mean to come after you. But so This is the sort of thing, Joe says it, I think, perfectly. This is the play that probably got Fields the starting job. And if it wasn't, the plays that came after that just put it right back. I don't think that any defense has cared what the Bears do past about that line right there. So what is that? That was probably a little too honest because that was a 12-yard line. Generally speaking, about 15 yards, yeah, that's been the Bears offense forever. In this case, they let him go, and they pay for it. I mean, this is gorgeous. If anything, this kind of reminds me just how much it can be, like, that saying, that's a touchdown. Oh, if he hits that, that's a touchdown. No, because this is perfect, pretty much. And it does not score because safeties have range. But Mooney is able to catch it so in stride that he breaks a tackle, turns it into more, and is able to get, I think that's 20 yards after the catch. So he hits contact about 3 yards down the field, spins for another 5 yards, then breaks away, grabs about what looks like, yeah, okay, so that's like 20 yards after the catch too. Total throw of, I know, right, Akusai? Total yardage of around 70, what feels like. I mean, this is a bomb. It's a bomb. We all know that it is. And I just love the fact that it happened at all. Like, again, you set up with all these blockers, which I'm going to be really curious to see if the Raiders come at him with blitzes, because it did look like this sort of deterred what the Lions were doing when it came to blitzing, because instead of lining up with just 5 right? They lined up with, in this case, you've got Kmet, you've got Graham, and you've got Montgomery that could help on protection. Now, none of them do in this specific case, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't have, if that makes any sense. So you end up kind of confusing the Lions, who think that they've got the Bears backed up. The Bears hit that long shot, and obviously, like, hunky-dory. Like, super great. Let's see. What was that about Monty? Does somebody say, yeah, okay, that makes sense. That Monty checks and releases. He totally does. You're right. So they had a 6-man protection lined up, and they should just keep doing that, because my personal opinion, the Bears' idealized offense doesn't involve Justin Fields hitting little quick things. It involves Justin Fields throwing the ball. Like, I don't want to sound like a meathead, because I think that personally saying, oh, I just want to throw the ball deep, like, that's standard Madden stuff, you know? But in this case, Justin Fields is so much more, to just look at it one more time, Fields is so much more confident and comfortable when it comes to making difficult throws, like we saw throughout this day. It doesn't matter whether it's the Lions or the Raiders, you can't fake this throw. You have, like, to hit a deep shot like that, you've got to be skilled enough to drop the ball into a window with pace. It's tough. But so, exactly like you're saying, or like everybody's saying, it's hard. It's, instead of making decisions, you're making difficult throws, and that deep pass threat basically backs the Lions up a little bit, but the Bears aren't done with them, and we'll get there. I agree with everybody basically saying that that they're worried about what happens with, I think, Max Crosby, Yannick Ngakoue, and how do I forget Nassib's first name so commonly? It's like a stream thing that I've been doing. Carl Nassib, like every those three very solid edge rushers. This is not a team to sleep on, no matter what did and didn't happen against. Thank you, chat. You guys are great. Every single person. Carl. Massive respect. But so they're a very solid complement of edge rushers, and I don't think that the Raiders are a team to necessarily sleep on. But I do think they're more beatable than at least I would have expected. But that's partially because I remember that as the Raiders were really getting the season going, I thought that they were playing really, really, really good football. And who knows? Maybe they'll bounce back. Bounce back games are very common, especially after a tough opponent like Herbert. But right now, I'm riding the Fields high. And all it takes is a couple plays. And this was one of, I would argue, the best. Like, I would argue that this might have been Fields'... There's so many good plays. To say that this is the best play of the game isn't fair, but what I will tell you is that this might have been the most important inside of the flow of the game, because the Bears, after that 70-yard bomb, end up with 3rd and about 4, all things told. And so what they run to make this clear. So I don't know if y'all know this, because I feel like this happens a lot, right? Where I've seen quarterbacks on all sorts of teams be like, they should have hit that. They should have, like, the quarterback should have seen that, I don't know, Kmet was wide open on 3rd down. Yeah, most of the time on 3rd down, you pick a player more so than a play, and you say, we're going to find him. So in this case, Fields, justifiably, has decided that against what looks like a cover 2 shell, they're going to run a basic curl for about 12 yards, and then he's going to throw to Allen Robinson. Now, he's got a backup of, I think it's Kmet over there, running a similar curl with, I think this is, no, Mooney's going to come across, but Mooney heads into the flat with a curl there, and I cannot remember what Bird does. We will see it as we see it. But, yeah, it is the Lions, right? That's what happens. It helps you out. Like, we need to see a little more from this Bears offense, but let's get there. What's cool about this play is that, so Fields sees the shift, and and what I need you to see, because it's right here at the start of the play, is as these running backs, one being a wide receiver, one being, thank you so much, Josh, for jumping in. But so as it's Damien Williams and Mooney shift positions, watch the linebackers. So they go out, or they fan out basically just a little bit to get to what looks like their assignments, so you can think it's man. And Fields would be correct if that's what he decided, because it is. That said, the Lions, because if you remember, this guy was right here, drop a robber right into the relative throwing window of where Allen Robinson was going to be, as they've jumped into more of a cover 3 again with a robber underneath that's basically bracketing Robinson. Now, you'll notice Fields has already looked away. He didn't do this in the Cleveland game. He was not near this quick with his reads, but he's already checking his second right here. Thank you so much, Wool, for subscribing. And even there, he doesn't like it. So we'll go through this again so that you can see just how quick he was. It looks like it could very well be cover 1 man robber easily. Like, I see the guy drop back nowadays and assume it's cover 3 because everybody loves the Legion of Boom, but it's probably C1 man. But so Fields at this stage, knowing that he's got what looks like that's Mooney running a wheel route and everybody else in man coverage. Man coverage is a very easy coverage to run against. If you're a quarterback, man coverage tends to mean that if nobody has you, then you can get out. And so he does. Fields knows that he's got to bake the safety if he's going to make this play, but he does exactly that and just skips right on out and picks up the first down. It's a third down. It's a critical third down. And Fields basically, again, check this out. What I want you to watch are, now you're going to see Fields' eyes. If I could slow this down, I would. But basically, watch Fields' head as the robber comes down, how quickly he gets off, checks his second, and then bails. Like, I don't think it's Williams. I'm pretty sure it's Mooney who comes across. Is it really Williams? Man, I had stared at that so many times this morning thinking that was Mooney that really that really got into my head. But so then from there, he gets right out, beats him to the edge. I love this sort of thing. Like, I also want to see the 90+ yard option TD run. I think that'd be so fun. But one thing that I know I talked about on the internet, because I had to talk, or like a lot of people mentioned in this specific case that Williams looks like he comes open for a touchdown, and maybe he does. But I love the fact that in this case, Fields is playing for the sticks, because on third down, I don't necessarily want my quarterback to try to chance the ball over there, because especially since you're sitting around like the 25-yard line, you don't necessarily have to sit around and take the field goal. I love the idea that Fields is thinking, all right, so let's get a first down. Let's see if we can't keep this drive going. We just hit like a 70-yard bomb. And yeah, that's a really hard throw. So I love the decision making here as he just goes, read, get out of here. And he does. Like, this is exactly the sort of thing that you want to see Fields succeeding at. Against Cleveland, I would say Fields was about a half step behind for most of this game. He was on time. Was he early? No. Could he get faster? Yes. But he was good enough to play, would be the simple way that I'd put it. I saw him translate into a player that was ready to play in the NFL, more so than the guy we saw against Cleveland that was just a little too late. But I don't want to say that as if he wasn't a rookie making his first start against one of the best defenses in football. I think we're all aware. We talked through that. But this definitely was a game that I loved seeing from this perspective, where Fields, partially because of the offense and partially because of the just growth he made across about a week, was able to make things go. So then from there, they pick up the first down, they move on, and they score. Check this out. Kmet does a great job here. Like, he hits one block, he hits two blocks, he helps open the hole, and from there, the whole offense just shoves themselves into it. Like, this is fun. Like, this is fun running the ball. These are the condensed formations that give you just tons of options. If you want to roll out, you can. If you want to do a straight play action drop back, that's an option. If you want to run it left, run it right, run it up the middle, you've got all your choices here, and the defense doesn't necessarily know where you're going to go with it, which is part of the magic of why condensed sets are so popular nowadays. But in this case, massive credit to, again, it's Jason Peters in part because he's able to set the edge, but Cole Kmet does a ton of work on this one. Also, Mooney fights for it, as does Demir Bird. Both of them are just battling as much as they can. Bird seems like he turns his guy around as Kmet comes over to pick up the slack, and from there, James Daniels is part of the push. Feels like the whole offense just willed Montgomery into the end zone, but these are the sorts of things that I don't necessarily want to sit here and tell you, oh, the Bears are going to just be one of the best running teams in football. This is part of the whole it's the Lions thing, but I will say that the Bears blocking started to look better and better and better, and not as the game wore on. I'd actually argue that as the game wore on, they seemed like the Lions were figuring them out just a little bit, but overall, like a good enough running performance to support the play action stuff that they ended up doing later. And yeah, exactly like all of y'all are saying. I mean, the Montgomery injury really hurts. It's a nice opportunity to try out Khalil Herbert, who I think is a very solid player. Williams is also a very solid player, but Montgomery's quick change of direction and powerful lower body are something that we're going to miss. I mean, especially his ability to just break right through what feels like any defensive back that tries to tackle him. Right here, Bird's able to shove his guy outside, which is not saying much because he's trying to turn the runner upfield, and Montgomery just yoinks himself out of the play. Oh man, George, I wish we could play the Lions every week. That would be a very fun football experience, all things told. A lot of winning there. But so from here, let's see. Oh, there were some mistakes. So moving on to the third drive, which they ran the ball. So Webster, oh, yeah, we get to talk about Webster. No, we don't. Not on this one, because this is a 4th and 2 stop. Credit to the defense. It felt like once they got into the danger areas, I'll just show you some plays here. This is 3rd down, if memory serves. Once they got into the danger areas, the defense stiffened up, all things told. You can see that they're able to cover their assignments a little bit cleaner. You've got Eddie Jackson and what looks like, I don't know who that is, I think it's Roquan, blanketing TJ Hawkinson, forcing Goff to look outside. They're able to just make the tackle, force a 4th down. Lucky that wasn't a flag, because you never know. But in this case, yeah, Webster the free agent, exactly. I don't really want to talk about him. I would argue that the pass rush didn't have a phenomenal first half, all things told, especially compared to what they've been doing. But at the same time, the Bears have been mostly just converting off of stunts and other creative pressures because, hey, it's easier to scheme pressure. But credit to Alec Ogletree here. He's able to help make a nice tip as he threatens blitz, is able to, Khalil Mack applies some pressure, seems to hurry Goff at least a little bit, who releases the ball with pressure in his face and just, knocks the ball away. Good job. And the Bears get the ball back on like the 4. So situations like this are where I think that the Bears offense needs to evolve a bit. Now, they probably designed this offense, all things told, in like 3 days. That's not to say that the bones weren't there or that they hadn't practiced any of these formations, but I think you guys would agree. It's not as if we've seen the Bears running a ton of 12, running a ton of 13. And there were some moments here where you could kind of tell that the Bears in this case were kind of figuring things out. It's not bad. Like, if anything, you're glad that they took it against the Lions, which is the closest that they'll get to an easy game throughout the schedule. But but from there, they just started running the ball and so on and so forth. But Reinhardt, I think they kind of went back to the Mitch offense. I didn't see quite the same bones because Mitch's offense was more focused around generating those yak opportunities off of short throws because he didn't want to throw the long ball. But what'll be interesting to see is how the Bears go forward managing 1st and 2nd down. My argument, or something that you'll hear me say a couple times throughout this stream, and hey, feel free to disagree with me, is that the situation I don't want the Bears in right now is 3rd and long. Which, look, nobody wants to be in 3rd and long, right? Obviously, nobody wants to be in 3rd and long. This sounds like a duh situation, but in 3rd and long settings, I would argue that Fields consistently has to make a read against a complex defense because most defenses save some of their best play calls for that 3rd down scenario. And on this specific play, for instance, I think it's a nice example of why I don't want to see Fields there. There's nothing the Bears really could have done here. They took a false start that backed him up to there. They ran the ball twice, only got about 4 or 5 yards off of it. So 3rd and long, it's going to happen when you're pinned that deep. But if you watch Fields off of this play specifically, you've got Cole Kmet and Allen Robinson running slants. Because as much as I know you guys said, like, ban the curls, the Bears did not run near as many curls as I would have anticipated. Like, normally, based on what they have done, they would run more curls. They left a lot of them at the door. But so you're going to see Mooney. I don't actually know what Mooney does. I can't tell if it's a fade down the sideline or if it's supposed to be a curl. But either way, I want you to watch the fact that Fields is going to eye up Allen Robinson, and then he doesn't throw the ball. Like, here's Allen breaking. He's open too. Like, you stick the ball on the body on the break, as J.P. O'Sullivan would say, you've got a completion. Is it a first down? It's not. I think that's why Fields doesn't throw it, is because he sees Allen break so short of the sticks and he wants to get the first down. But either way, that's a free rusher that he's responsible for, and he gets cooked as he lets the ball go. I don't want to say like Fields held the ball too long, but I probably would have just thrown it to Allen Robinson, taken the 6-7 yards and not taken the hit, but we'll see. Like, I don't think this is a misread. I actually think Fields is just greedy because he looks at a very open player and doesn't throw the ball, which he hadn't done all day long. But yeah, for sure. Like, there's, I think, more that the Bears could do on these it's mostly second downs, really. Like, what I don't want to see is run followed by run, because then you set up, I keep trying to say, JT O'Sullivan. Thank you, Scott. I never hurts to remind me when I mess something up on an almost 4-hour stream. But yeah, true. Maybe he doesn't trust it. I think, I personally think that it's more likely than anything else that he just wanted to get that first down. But I think that's the sort of situation that the Bears are basically going to have to. Yeah, it's JT, 100%. But so that's something that I think that Fields is just going to have to work out, because when the Bears run the ball at this point, I feel like they set themselves up in these third downs where it's going to be toughest on Fields, all things told. But I also think that they could do a lot. Basically, your running attack and play action game can set up a ton on first and second down. And if you could avoid getting into third downs outside of, I don't know, 3rd and 3, something like that, I think that you do a lot for the offense. Now, again, everybody wants to avoid long-term third downs. Like, nobody likes third and long. Saying let's not get into third and long is like saying let's score touchdowns. So I actually don't want anybody to act like that's huge analysis. Thank you so much, Renzo, for jumping in. But so I don't want to act like it's crazy analysis to say avoid third down. What I really want to point out when I'm saying it is, here's a nice little Quinn move, by the way. Sweet Gumby edge move. Mac gets it. I laughed at the fact that this was called a forward pass, because at least on the broadcast it did not look like it. But I thought that was, again, just a funny one where you're like, well, I guess he did pass it forward. They were both running forward, so... oh, well. But anyways, Bears get the ball back. So from here, let's see. Yeah. The reason... hang on. Let me collect myself. See, I'm trying to not step on my words quite so much. My wife's laughing at me. But so... what I love about the Bears play action game and why I want to see them use more play action passing is because I would argue that this is where we get to see Fields at his most special. Like, this is the play action where he fakes it. It's like a fake counter play. And as you probably remember, turns around here. Man's got him dead to rights. Yeah, never mind. Like, Fields breaking out of this is special enough. This is wild. But the play action game sets up opportunities. Thank you so much, Brandon, for jumping in. That I think Fields is able to cash in and do a really, really, really good job with. I love the fact that Fields keeps his eyes downfield. He knows there's no way I'm hitting Allen Robinson, but he creates an opportunity with Cole Kmet that I would love to see Kmet make a play on, but I actually don't want to just like voraciously kill him with. I think that everybody who's just assaulting Cole Kmet over this play is being a little I don't want to say disingenuous. Last thing I want to do is incriminate anybody, but I would say that I think that they're more frustrated at the lack of other opportunities than they are angry at this play specifically. Like, this is one of those plays that I would say Cole, especially if he's a more agile tight end like Goddard or so on and so forth, that isn't quite 260 pounds and struggles to stop, like, this is where you could turn around, get back, and make this catch, maybe still be running. Like, especially if he caught this on the move, he's running with nobody close. Like, this is sweet. But exactly like Hitesh is saying, this also isn't Cole Kmet's game. Like, exactly like, or Grant said it really well too. If this is your Y tight end, like, we're all aware that he's not a U tight end, this is the kind of play that it's just gonna be tough, especially with your feet underneath you. Like, I don't think this is an easy play for anybody to make. Thank you so much for jumping in, Omega CL, but you get the idea. So a lot of people are talking about Mooney, and Mooney is open, but this is where I do think that Patrick Mahomes has sort of poisoned us, because with Mooney running way over here, that's still a really hard pseudo crossbody throw to try to line up with Mooney coming there. You've got to make sure that there's nobody necessarily that's going to snake you as you throw that ball. I much prefer Justin Fields trying to basically Jimmy Cole Kmet open, because while it doesn't work, the throw's great, and I honestly think Cole makes the play like next time. But Mooney in this specific case, that's a more dangerous throw, all things told. And I don't know. I'm going to back the rookie's decision here, because I think that, yeah, Reinhardt, we gotta buy Uno's Game Pass. Like, who else is going to, if not us? But so, yeah, this is so sick. Like, this spin move right here. These are exactly the kinds of plays that I think are going to define Justin Fields' career. It's just a matter of lining up chemistry with him. Like, for instance, my hope would be that next time, Cole Kmet's already stopping. Like, if they've got this lined up to where Cole realizes, okay, he's going to do that thing again, he's able to stop and at least get a little more forward momentum so that he can catch that and run the other way. Like, this is the sort of thing that I would argue they can get better at, that there's a lot of room to improve. And like, I think that's Grant saying here again, the other beautiful thing about this placement is that if Kmet doesn't catch it, like, you've thrown the ball to there, there's no defender. Like, worst case scenario, incompletion. Like, this is a gorgeous play. People are saying it's effortless. It does. This looks, to throw a really hyperbolic word out there, this play looks outright transcendent. Like, this is a quarterback making a play, and that is wild. And I agree with you, Reinhardt. I think he has the strength to hit Mooney, but that sounds to me like more year 2, year 3 sort of thing. Like, that's not game 2 or what is it, game 3. That to me is much more like, all right, we're just playing ball. And so I don't mind that Justin, amidst him kind of figuring out his fundamentals and what his game is going to look like, I really don't mind at all that he did throw where he did. Oh, there's Brandon. And he's got his new logo too. I loved that. But anyways, so from here, Bears do a whole lot more. I think this is actually an RPO by the looks of it. Either that or Fields fakes an RPO. Yeah, it's an RPO bubble, and it's a good read too, in this case. But so what you've got is, Fields thinks it might be open, but he's got to watch this safety, because once that safety starts to roll down and you see him start to fade backwards, him starting to fade forwards, I think Fields is already thinking about handing it off. But as soon as he sees that guy creep down, yeah, this is a handoff. Montgomery is so ridiculous when it comes to, I personally think anyways, Montgomery is just insane about creating these missed tackle opportunities. He goes from forward to left so quickly. Like, this is wild to me. But, we're waiting on him to come back. Certainly, I hope he has a better recovery than Tariq Cohen, who is still in recovery. Hopefully, it's just a second procedure on Cohen's part that we haven't heard much of, because if it's not, we may never get much of anything out of that extension, but we being the Bears in that case. But so Tesh, I don't think he needs to see, or I don't think Fields needs to fake the throw. I think even just the plant works well enough, but that's just my 2 cents. I loved that the Bears, because I didn't remember them throwing almost at all out of the shotgun, or not throwing, but I didn't remember them running almost at all out of the shotgun when I watched the game live, but watching it here, like, it reminds me just how often they did, and they didn't get a ton out of it, right? But so they, in this case, what they did, again, collecting myself, they ran enough out of the shotgun to where when they threw the ball, whether it was a straight drop back with extra protection or whatever else they did, that they had at least a believable run key. Because as silly as this is going to sound, if you're going to base your offense around play action, all you need is a bunch of running attempts. I would argue you don't necessarily need to even run the ball well. It helps to run the ball well, but you just need to throw enough attempts out of the shotgun and out of under center that when you do drop back and play action, the linebackers are just moving forward already. It's almost a matter of training them to come downhill so that you can then hit them over the top. In this case, look, this is not phenomenal placement, hitting him on the back shoulder, and I only say that because I remember talking about Mitch for years, and this is the sort of thing you're like, oh, I'd love it to be on the other shoulder, but quick game is the sort of thing that Fields is working on. Fine, who cares? Like, honestly, it's a catch. You trust Allen Robinson, big catch radius that he's got to make these exact kind of plays. It's a quick read on Fields' part. He's open. Nice little sling. It never ceases to amaze me, by the way, not to just talk this kid up too much. Like, I would tell you in this specific case, like, it never ceases to amaze me quite how the ball just seems to just launch out of Fields' hand. It's silly, but his throw windup in this case almost seems to take longer than the throw itself. So as soon as he throws it, just shoo, and that's not even as fast as he can get. He's got a fastball that's like probably about 15 miles an hour quicker. But watching Fields throw is just fun. And Bryce, we're going to talk about screens. But yeah, anyways, let's leave that for that. But so where are we in this? Okay, 27:35. Oh, it's coming. Okay, so let's see. They run the ball, skipping it. Not that we don't love running the ball, but we don't need to necessarily cover every single play chronologically. But so here, I thought Fields did a really solid job of just getting the ball out. But I wanted to throw this out there because in this specific setting, I love the fact that when you watch this play, you're going to see that this edge rusher specifically creates quite a bit of pressure. Why do I keep erasing that? He creates quite a bit of pressure as Fields sits and waits on, I think it's Goodwin. Yeah, so he waits on Goodwin, who I think just does not get open. This is not a good route on Goodwin's part. In fact, I would say he just gets completely blown off the line on his release. Now watch Goodwin, because you'll see it. Right at his release, bang. Corner, let's just say he disrupts him. Yeah, he did that quite well. That's great defense on his specific spot. But so from there, you see that Ifeadi's getting pressure, so Fields just gets rid of the ball. This, I don't know. Thank you so much, Justin, for subscribing, by the way. Awesome to have you along. I don't know if Fields takes a sack. Against the Cleveland, chances are, number 2 gets a little deeper than he does against Ifeadi. But even so, I appreciate the fact that Justin's aware that I just got to throw this ball. Sends it up high, so on and so forth. He sends it up and over him, but that's the point. It's as much a throwaway as anything else. One thing that I don't feel like it's talked about enough, by the way, there are a whole lot of throws that I've seen throughout the NFL that people are like, oh, Fields just a little bit off target on this one, right? This is a perfect example where he's throwing this ball and they're like, oh, that's too high. Oh, man, Fields really left that one up, didn't he? And it's neat that Fields threw it with the anticipation that he did, and I would love to give him credit for an anticipatory throw, but I'm pretty sure that this is just a throwaway with a chance. I can't confirm it. Could very well be trying to throw it with pressure in his face, which he tends to leave the ball high a little bit in these sorts of settings. With a man in his face, his arm doesn't tend to come all the way through because he doesn't plant his foot where he wants to. But hey, if he's throwing with Goodwin pointed way over there and he does manage to hit it like he does, that's a very impressive anticipatory throw. I just think it's a throwaway. Boom. Goes right through his hands. Nobody gets hurt. But so let's see. This, I think... Are we where I think we are? We aren't. So somebody mentioned screens. I love these. Like this is exactly the kind of screen I would love to see the Bears run a little bit more. I think they call this an orbit motion because while normally you see a wide receiver run or a running back run orbit where they literally orbit in like a circle, in this case it's just Williams coming right behind the quarterback, so it's an orbit. And here you've got 1, 2, 3 man on this screen, and I love it. It gets a nice little 5 yards for free, 3 extra yards because Williams picks his way through. Kmet kind of holds his guy. Like, I don't know how else he would have gotten on his or through on the inside, because he does right there, but not make the play. Who cares? Doesn't get called. And Williams is able to pick out to there, come right back through, gain about 8 yards. Like, I love this kind of thing. This is easy because the beauty of this is that against Cleveland, the Bears did nothing to give Fields easy completions. And off of these exact kinds of plays, I love the fact that they're able to get the ball out. They let Fields basically gets a play off, all things told. And it's not just a running play. They're able to get the ball to the outside on a play like this with an easy completion that he's able to that then Williams takes 4 yards and turns something into about 8. I'm not saying that he's the greatest player to ever grace a Bears uniform, but this is exactly the kind of setup that I look at and I'm like, please do more of this, Bears offense. Sure, it may not work every time. There's an aspect of this stuff that is just the Lions. Oh, did we get there? Did we get to 10K? Brr, 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 hooray, there we go. I've been hunting on that one for a little while. But yeah, Grant, I would argue the same, that I thought the Lions fought at least as hard as they could. Ooh, and this is one, I actually have a question out to Bobby Peters, so I'll let you guys know at a separate time what about this went wrong, because this feels like it's just the Lions create a good play. Like, as silly as that sounds, I've watched this a couple times, and the Bears have a natural pick going on right here where you've got Kmet and Mooney coming over, and I think Kmet actually might cross in front of his face. I can't remember. But so they come so near to each other that there's a picking action, and so Fields would have to throw the ball right now, which looks awfully dangerous to a rookie because there's a guy standing right where he would be throwing the ball. But because he hesitates at all, this linebacker who comes downhill to make a play just gets a hand on it because he's in the right place at the right time. I wouldn't. So if the first interception was basically Justin Fields' fault because he got disguised, I don't feel like this is as bad. Like, again, like you're exactly like Jordan's saying, I feel like we're nitpicking. Tons of quarterbacks just chuck the ball, right? Tons of quarterbacks that I've seen run this kind of play, they snap it, they take their step, and they're throwing, because that's how the drop works. You take your snap, you hit your drop, you throw the ball. So their arm's coming forward, and this linebacker, just barely misses the play. But I'm almost happier that it happened, if only because I think Justin needs every reminder he can get to just speed up that extra little bit. Like, Justin being able to operate quick offense is exactly the kind of transition that I would say would take Justin from a guy who can throw a really great deep ball to a guy who's very, very good. Like, it's the difference between top 16 quarterback and top 8 quarterback, in my opinion, is Justin Fields being able to operate quick game even modestly efficiently. But hey, credit to 44 also for reading the quarterback's eyes, getting a hand in there. That's easier said than done, and he's able to make a play. Again, not bad, because Goff didn't even throw these kinds of, you don't see a lot of quarterbacks give up tipped balls off of quick throws like that, especially quick throws that kind of go over the middle. So definitely something that I would want to see Justin improve on, but not near as bad as the disguised blitz that he got beat on in Cincinnati. And he made enough great throws in this game that he definitely gets like an A, and that pick is just a rookie wart. You live with it. But so let's see from there, the half ends. So talking through, as you guys have heard, we're still talking through the offense. And from there, let's go to the next drive, because the Lions possess the ball a lot which is hilarious to me. They just kept getting little bits and little bits and little bits. Credit to them. They get the ball again here. They don't do much with it. And we get to talk about Nsimba Webster just a smidge, as he seemed like he just didn't catch anything. I mean, look, everybody makes the Ted Ginn comparison, which is hilarious. I think it's funny. But yeah, this is exactly the kind of play that, you know, you want your returner to catch it so that it doesn't bounce, but then it bounces into his hands, which is hilarious. Speaking of, I've always liked Jakeem Grant. I think Jakeem Grant is fun. He's fast. He's a weapon that Texas Tech was able to use really, really well. I think that there's probably a reason he's only had like 200 yards a season for the last couple years, but I do think that he'll be at least an upgrade to KR and PR, and that's good. But exactly, this is why Jakeem Grant was brought in, is to catch the ball. And you know, it wouldn't surprise me if he has brick hands, Hitesh. I haven't seen him in a little while, but yeah, Jakeem Grant he's quick is what he is. Like very, very fast. Bursty too. So kind of probably fills a similar role of Damiere Byrd, but you know. So one thing that the Bears don't seem to want to do, that, I don't know, you guys make the call in the chat whether you're happy or not happy with this. So this is just a downhill run. This isn't the one we're doing analysis of. One thing that the Bears used twice in this game, and it wouldn't surprise me if it gets 2 or 3 snaps per, is they used a lot of the wild bear. And that's what I've heard them call it, so I'm not trying to be ridiculous, but obviously it's the Wildcat run by the Bears, but they like to run this a lot. Now, you could just easily run this play with Justin Fields. Like, Justin Fields is a 4'4" athlete, he's 230 pounds, like, he's fine. And so you could very easily, and Kyle Shanahan's going to with Trey Lance a lot, just run this stuff with your quarterback. But the Bears don't. That's what you guys in the chat can make the decision on what you like and what you don't like. But oh yeah, this is the one where Fields has an awesome little release. I love this sort of thing. But yeah, Reinhardt, you know, I get the whole Monty was a high school quarterback thing. I appreciate that. I also think that until he throws the ball, that you don't necessarily want to, or that I just don't want to give him that like quarterback prop per se. But you get the idea. What this does allow them to do is to actually flex the inside-outside running that we were expecting to do with Justin Fields. So, and Twinquist, we're not getting Gilmore. He already got traded to the Panthers, but appreciated. But I get the idea anyways. I agree. But so what they're going to basically do is that they're just going to run a read option where Montgomery can go this way or Mooney can go that way. And they run it a couple times. Like I really think that this is the kind of play that Justin Fields would do just as well in, but they're able to get Mooney outside with 2 blockers in front of him, and Mooney's able to turn it into about 10 yards. Like, oh, we got to go back. Everybody loves the Fields release. Just check out your QB1 right here. Just a sweet little double move and gets downhill. I don't know if he would have truly like broken deep, but at the very least, he's going to draw the defender's attention. And not to mention, if nothing else, it's fun. Like, we'll go back one more time. You got to watch Fields' release here as he gets the outside edge. I do think a corner might have strode with him, but the fact that he tried it all is fun, because at least on tape that makes defenses think, well, we got to pay attention to Fields. But so, hey, John, Cohen is statistically one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, if memory serves, because he's got 2 touchdown passes, one for like 27 yards, the other for 2, if memory serves. But I'm going entirely off the dome here. So Cohen, the peak of efficiency, like, can't get much better than that. But so, anyways, looking at this, what is neat is that this is exactly the kind of play where you've got, you've got Mooney coming across, you've got Montgomery or whoever the running back is going to be running this, that is able to go side to side. So you're able to stretch the defense one way or another. I love these kinds of plays. I just think you could do it with Fields. I'm not trying to be cantankerous. I hope that's the correct usage of the word. Like, I don't want to find negativity where there isn't negativity to find, but you could run quarterback power with what name am I not using? But so anyways, you could run quarterback power, you could run quarterback bash, you could go you could go as you want to. Yeah, bash. That's what you're thinking, right? But so you could do a ton with your quarterback off of this kind of play. But I tend to think that they just want Fields to make it through the whole season. Like, my guess, they're scared. They don't want Fields taking what they would consider unnecessary hits, and they want to develop him as a pocket passer. You can decide whether you think that that's smart or not. But, yeah, exactly, Brandon. That's, like, they ran it at OSU. Fields is comfortable with it. It's just a matter of doing it, and I think they can, but because I trust Fields as a runner. But either way, they're able to finally get Mooney. Like, I'm going to say something cheeky here, but this felt to me like the first time we've seen Mooney carry the ball and not lose yards. It's not even Mooney's fault. Like, normally the way that the Bears have gotten him the ball on screens or jet tosses or so on and so forth has just gotten him nothing. And so it was fun to see them actually get something out of it. I think part of it is obviously the Lions being the Lions, but you get the idea. I would say Kyler Murray and Fields they both got huge arms, but what's really key to me is that Kyler's release is a little faster. I also think he's a smidge less accurate, but part of that's because I think Fields is one of the most accurate quarterbacks I've just about ever seen. And I mean that really seriously. Like, he's surgical with his accuracy. The thing about Kyler that sets him apart is that I don't think Fields or anyone can move laterally like Kyler can. Like, Kyler might as well be Tariq Cohen as a quarterback. Like, the ability of Kyler's, if this is, let's say that JP Holtz right here is Kyler. If Kyler wants to get over to here or to here, he can just go. Like, he could just be there. And so, like, his ability to just jet sideways separates him, in my opinion, not just in the pocket, but while on the run. Fields needs to make a couple extra moves. Fields has great straight line speed. That doesn't mean Fields isn't agile. We've seen his spin move, but Kyler can just disappear on you. He's so fun to watch, and his progression as a quarterback has been unbelievable. Like, it is so fun to watch what Kyler is doing, because throughout his first 2 seasons, this is third year, right? His first 2 seasons, you could kind of tell that he was still picking it up, trying to fight his way through an offensive line that was not blocking him at all. But now at this point, holy moly, Kyler's playing great football. It's fun. Like, watching Kyler is exactly the excitement that you should have for Fields, because they won't be the same player, but that kind of dynamic athlete meets dynamic thrower meets dynamic offensive operator, you can do a ton of things with that. So at this point, it's just a matter of first of all, Murray has to last the whole season. Like, silly as it sounds, he can't burn out. I mean, we've seen this with Russ a couple of times where he just blows up in the first 2 months of the season and then loses his MVP bid as the season progresses. But man, if he can keep it up, wow, like, it's cool. And yeah, exactly, Shell Bullet. This is a patience game. We are working with what Fields is to mold him into what he can be. 3 years is almost always as long as you should wait for, I think anyways, most quarterbacks. A great example, a whole bunch of people want to throw Tua out. Like, I'm not going to sit here and stand Tua Tagovailoa, but a whole lot of people want to take somebody's rookie season and decide who a quarterback is. I think that's kind of ridiculous. Like, in my opinion anyways. Tua in his second season looked like a much better player than Tua in his first season, at the very least. And so I'm curious to see what happens from here. But so, anyways, probably false about Nagy coming back. Now that we've gone off on our Kyler tangent, so let's get back to the game. Somebody said I formation hype. I think it is hilarious that they brought in the I formation stuff, and is this throw good or what? Like, so what you've got here that I love is that the Bears basically use Holtz as a super blocker. I love this kind of I formation play action, if only because the Bears basically decide, decide that they're going to have 9 blockers, Demir Bird and Allen Robinson running routes. I think this is hilarious. So this is I like to call these follow me play designs. You can basically fit a whole bunch of concepts into similar buckets, and this one is Bird is going to run that route and Robinson is going to follow Bird. So Bird flies through the area, clears it out for a throw that comes through. It is a 2-man route. And so thank you so much, by the way, Fernando. Great having you along. So the funny thing to me is that the Bears commit everyone else to blocking. So they've got Holtz coming straight through to hit the first guy through the hole. Just boom. Like he sticks him right there, with Montgomery watching everyone else as you have 2 guys taking on 6. So here, Bird comes through. Bird clears out this exact throwing lane because this linebacker's thinking about Bird. This safety comes through right there, and the throw is just gorgeous. And it's on the money, too. Like, this is so nice, in my opinion. Like, wow. Obviously, this isn't even Fields' best throw of the day, but you can start to see that comfort that he has. And I love watching this kind of thing because what the Bears are just basically doing is trying to set up situations where Fields can just throw the ball deep, stretch that defense out, show that, like, number one, show that you can, let me see. Part of that, Ryan, as silly as it sounds, is just the defenses that they played. It seemed like Andy was setting up to get the ball downfield, but I don't know. I don't want to stand for Dalton too hard because who knows? And also kind of who cares? I mean, he's not the starter anymore. But Fields definitely hunts deep throws. Like, he loves this. But so, yeah, somebody said that he threw before the break. I would say he threw it as he was breaking. Like, so when we go into the freeze frame, here Allen Robinson is beginning to break, which I think is key, because Fields likes to see the break and then throw it. And he likes to throw as he throws, or he likes to throw as a receiver breaks. He did this all the time, by the way, at OSU. But so he's speeding up. Even so, it's on time. Because when you're throwing deep, especially when you get into that kind of physical window, Allen Robinson's able to hit this push-off route very nicely, create a lot more separation than I feel like he usually does, and get that ball, bang, right there on time, and just keep going. Like, this is gorgeous, and more than anything, what it does is it helps kind of remind these linebackers that you can't just come screeching downhill 100% of the time, or you're going to end up getting burned by play-action stuff over the middle, and I think that's so key. Because when the offense gains a vertical component, you're then able to push Dalton, you're able to push defenses a little bit harder, or at least bluff more things. Your running game opens up just a little bit, because if they don't honor even what 2 receivers can do, you're sunk. But so from there, let's see, I think they run the ball again. I don't want to sound like I'm bored with the run stuff. It's they did run the ball, and they kept running the ball as best they could. And they're not going to be the world's most perfect running team. Like here, believe it or not, you've got Marquise Goodwin. I wouldn't say blows this play, but I've never seen like massive groups of offensive linemen succeed truly consistently. I don't want to be ridiculous here, or not ridiculous. It's more that when you get, what is this, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, technically this is an 8-on-8 matchup, right? Technically you've got a hat on a hat, so this should be successful, but also it's a ton of bodies within a very congested area, so trying to create a ton of running room with that, especially with this guy jumping into the fray, is just difficult. Like, when you've got this many offensive linemen and tight ends on the line, it's tough to really not end up with just a massive mob of bodies where technically Mustafer's kind of beat, but, you know, Ifedi won his, Daniels won his big, but how much does all that matter? Because there's just so many guys in congested space. Funnily enough, though, this is where the general offensive or outside zone keys are. You're going to bang the run inside, you're going to bend the run into the hole, or you're going to bounce the run to the edge. Khalil Herbert, also known as Juice, is really good at making decisions. By the way, from what we've seen at Virginia Tech on these exact kind of plays, this is a classic bounce play. So Montgomery bounces it out nicely, but what is it? Goodwin loses his block, which if he had it, maybe Montgomery gets the edge. Instead, they get like one. But again, watching this block, it is hilarious to me that it came down to a wide receiver just not getting anything on his guy. But that's the sort of thing that I think the Bears are going to have to just sort of lock into, is everybody needs to play their part. This is exactly the kind of stuff that Cleveland does, and sometimes you're just going to end up with basically a wall right in front of you. Nobody got through, but nobody got up, right? So when you get to those neutral states, you're going to just keep following along the line, and you just need to, and the Bears offense needs to see if they can't get their wide receivers to at least deny something, because in this case, it was kind of as if Goodwin just didn't really affect the play in a positive way anyways. Defender kind of just went right around him. But, hey, and again, you almost want to thank the Lions for a run stop, because every time they got a run stop, the Bears dialed up something deep, and Justin Fields got to show off a little bit. This is, as you probably remember, yet another shotgun snap with, I think they run a 7-man protection here, and Mooney just goes whoop right down the sidelines, and oh boy, is this throw nice. So here's something that I want you to see, because I love this. We talked about this a lot. The throw's gorgeous, right? We could watch a replay of the throw over and over and over and over, right? So this, like, we could, and we will, like, takes the snap. They've got a nice little check and release assignment here, Kmet helping out. So you've got 6 engaged with a 7th right here. And then Fields just shucks the ball down the field. It's gorgeous. I love this kind of play. This, by the way, is an unbelievable throw. Like, I love this from a placement standpoint. One thing that I think can get confused sometimes is that when Mooney breaks outside, because it's an outside release, right? Let's go back to just the start of the play so you can see this. Releasing at the line of scrimmage is not easy, but when you've got a tight line of scrimmage set up like this, you're going to see him release outside, and when he does, the wide receiver basically forms a catching area that I just want to show you right here, where the quarterback knows that between the wide receiver and the sidelines is where you're aiming. I've seen a lot of people right on the internet, and the internet's great, right? We all learn tons of things on the internet. But so this exact kind of throw, I've seen a lot of people saying that they want Fields to dot the ball somewhere in the middle area right here so that Mooney can catch it and try to run into the end zone. And it's possible. You totally can. But the technical way that I understand you're supposed to draw it up is to hit the target between the wide receiver where he is and the sidelines, which is exactly what Fields does. Like, this is an unbelievable and beautiful ball that, because the ball's placed right about here, like, the defender has no shot at it. It's Mooney or it's no one. And that's the key here. So he hits the ball, or like the ball hits him right in the hands. This is just gorgeous. It's beautiful route running. It's a beautiful throw. It's a beautiful gain. And while it's fun, for sure, to get jailbreak touchdowns, this is how it's drawn up from a textbook perspective. 3-step drop, lets the ball go. Mooney's basically shielding the cornerback from where the target area is supposed to be. And again, Fields is able to drop the ball such that only Mooney has a shot at it. Mooney makes a very, very tough over-the-shoulder catch and walks right out of bounds. Now, there's another hidden gem to this play that we need to walk through, by the way. Let's walk through it. Let me pull it up real fast. You guys can see all my outputted things. Yes. Okay. So we talked last week, this is the Browns game, right? About how one thing that Fields didn't do, but Baker did, was a 3-step drop and throw, where he took a drop off of a play action, let the ball loose, and his wide receiver made the play. Does anybody remember this? If you didn't, here it is. Because the big key here was that a little later in the game, we saw Fields attempt a similar throw to Demir Bird, where he's going to take a sack because he gets to the back of his drop right there, and he doesn't throw the ball. He hangs on to it. Oh, he gets dragged to the ground. And so the throw itself never happened, because once he had dropped back to make the throw, even though Bird was already getting the edge and you've got to get this ball out, he hung on to it because he just kind of wanted to see it confirmed. You could see him loading to throw as the sack comes, by the way, but he gets brought down. Why does this matter? Because going back to... Oh, good. We're going to have to fish it out again, but that's fine. We generally know where it is. Going back to this play right here, you're going to see Fields learned from it. Like 1 week where exactly like what you're seeing in the chat right here is you've got Fields is basically, I want you to watch his footwork. This is absolutely gorgeous. Snap, 1, 2, 3, out. Perfect. Like, this is such a gorgeous play, top to bottom. Like, it helps that last week's perspective, it hangs in it. I'm going to make a little short video, hopefully we blow it up, about exactly this. But the fact that his footwork got so much cleaner, he trusted his receiver to just get down the field for this ball. Ooh, this is the stuff that Bears fans have turned off their Xbox dreaming about with different quarterbacks in Chicago Bears uniforms. And this kind of throw is just so hard to imitate. It's so hard to make. Like, these are the plays that everybody should be excited about. Not just because it's a long game. Like, sure, going back one more time. Because I love watching the air yards on this, right? So let's see. We've got drop, drop, drop. He throws from the 37-yard line. Like, so 37-yard line, opposite hash, by the way, and he drops it in on the 6. And so we've got 27 yards vertical plus the fact that it went like that far. So, oh, thank you. Yes, it's the 43-yard line. But so 37 yards, basically straight downfield, also to the opposite hash. I don't really want to break out my right triangle stuff. We're not really gonna, I don't really want to do the geometry things because I can't quite remember. It's been a long time since I had to deal with what is this complementary angles, but the hypotenuse is long. Yeah, exactly, Joe. 19 yards per completion is absolutely bananas, and Fields was just slanging the ball. But so, yeah, it's cool because this is like these kinds of plays. We've got him, we've got Fields juicing the ball down. Yeah, no, come on. Oh, well, technically that's any triangle. No, it's right triangles, right? But so, thank you, John. So from there, they run a shotgun run, and Williams gets in the end zone. And I'm going to be really petty. I was mad about this one. I shouldn't be, but this was one that I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Like, why can't we just let the kid score? But from here, the Bears, you'll notice they're in the shotgun. They've been throwing a lot out of the shotgun. Here they run the ball. They put a little bit of action on it where where Fields is reading the edge defender. If he's completely uncovered or if he's playing the run, like, he'll go for it. And instead, they let him go. 52.5 yards. Gracious. And yeah, Kusai, I am greedy. But it's a beautiful little, I think anyways, everybody always talks about duo or inside zone. This looks to me like inside zone. I just tend to watch the guy's intent. Normally they just blast them. Whereas it seems on this one like they're looking to work up to double teams. Like immediately Whitehair is looking there. But then again, that could be duo. I don't know. They score. But so, thank you so much, BB Cheeks. Great to see you say that. That's really kind of you. Kmet helps a little bit. Actually, this is probably not great on Kmet's part. Yeah, I think it is duo. You're probably right, Brandon. I'm not saying it's not great like it's bad, because Kmet certainly engages his guy right there. Keeps him alive enough, but credit to Dame. Like, Dame plows right on through. But so, let's see. 31. Oh, gosh. Eric Alley. Yes. Exactly, Eric. Like, they do have to watch Fields. This is the beauty, and it's why I would love to see the Bears basically leverage Fields' run game just a little more, is because they're able to take him out of the play right there to where he can't get quite enough of he can't get quite enough of Dame to stop him. And so Bears are able to get into the end zone. Hooray! So this is the point where, if memory serves, the score is 0. Oh, goodness gracious. Wow, that was almost a good circle. Look at that. There we go. That's a beautiful circle. That's beautiful. Oh, Jordan, you're not his number one apologist. That's for sure. I actually think you have a relatively even-keeled perspective on Kmet that's just positive. I don't hate Kmet. I think he's a solid blocker. Again, would love to see a little bit more out of the receiving end. But anyways, there's some people that are like, Kmet is Kelsey. And it's like, maybe not. But so anyways, this point, it is 0-21, which I want to point out because I kind of got the impression at this point that the Bears, I don't want to say they took the foot off the gas, but it would be very, very old school football for a team to look at 0-21 and decide that they are going to just run the ball out. And this is where I would love the Bears to kind of just learn a little from this game, that they don't have to do that, that you can keep scoring past the 3-touchdown lead. Because at one point this game got, again, I don't want to call it touch and go. It didn't, but a little closer than a 21-point lead. They slowly gave it back. And that doesn't mean, again, that they played terribly, but the next set of downs specifically, I'll just keep the clock running, or keep the show rolling at this point. Their very next series is the one that I'm probably the most disappointed with. This next series was, let's see, so I can't remember if Simba makes a direct mistake here. No, the Bears get a sack. Hooray. A-Song, it's not even about 40 burgers per se, but it's as much about, and we'll talk through it in just a little bit. Ooh, Khalil gets through. Look at this. Okay, so I love this kind of thing, by the way. DeAndre Houston Carson's going to come through, so he runs that same... maybe they already talked about this. I love this. It's like a pick, right? Where... No, they did. This is a very similar play that the Bears already ran. But so it's basically a block where DHC is just going to pick 67 and Mac's one-on-one against 32. And you can say whatever you want to about Mac having a strugglesome time as old as he is, but him one-on-one against the running back, you're toast. And watch DHC. This is the kind of thing that I'm just going to say. I love that when we see players show emotion, DHC is jazzed. Like, he knows he helped make a play. It's a gorgeous little stunt right here. And DHC gets thrown on the ground, gets up. Yeah, a little bit of that pumped up. And I love watching that kind of stuff. But so it's beautiful because you don't need to do a ton, right? Like, the beautiful thing about what we're seeing with Desai, because we saw with Pagano way too often that he would just rush his 4 guys. Not even 5, but like he just rush a little bit. So, and that works fine, but like you're seeing a whole, maybe you follow enough PFF guys on Twitter, they've talked about this a lot. They go, coverage is greater than pass rush. Now, the reason they say that is this exact play. It's this exact play. It's because pressure is something you can scheme easier than coverage. It's hard to fake 2 safeties knowing where they're supposed to be downfield, but when you can get DeAndre Houston Carson setting a pick on a right tackle, you can get Khalil Mack free. And it helps the Khalil Mack is Khalil Mack, but honestly, Travis Gibson or Jeremiah Atacho or Robert Quinn, almost literally anybody on the Bears defensive line can pick this sack up because it's one-on-one against a running back that suddenly realizes, flat-footed by the way, that they are in a rough spot. Goff goes straight down. Like, these are exactly the kinds of plays that I look at. I'm excited because it feels like we're watching a defensive coordinator that gets it, and that's really fun. So this is yet another play that I feel like Simba just lets this go, and that's a real bummer because I don't actually know why he doesn't come up after it. Most punt returners I've seen, and I am not a special team specialist, guys. I want to be, but I don't know if I want to be. I may take that back. But so at this point, what I've mostly seen guys do is that they'll stand at the 20-yard line. So they will, like, you'll have the punt returner somewhere within here, and basically if the ball goes over his head, he lets it bounce, or he goes, because he hopes that it comes back. But Webster's, like, really deep and also doesn't get the ball. And so it lands at like the 18 at this point, bounces, and the Bears lose like 10 yards off of this ball. Like, this might be the one. Okay, it's based on how far he is from the punter. I'll take your word for it. Well, it makes a lot of sense. It's a bummer to see the ball see the ball get moved back that far, but what's even worse is what I think happens next. So the trouble is that we talked about 0-21. Like, we talked about how the Bears are up 3 scores, and the Bears just lost about 10 yards off the ball bouncing. So given that they're 10 yards from the end zone, look, I don't know if they pack it in per se, but they just run the ball twice. And we talked about how I don't want Fields in third and long situations. Honestly, anything where they can't feasibly run the ball, I think makes things just tougher on Fields. And we'll see another example of that right here, where, look, running the ball is not always going to work. Like, I could sit here and I could tell you that, like, this defender gets a good lick on James Daniels, and the Lions are basically just able to shove enough bodies into the play where when I think that's Kmet. Yeah, so Kmet doesn't get all of his guy, who's an edge rusher. Like, he basically sets the edge. 74, Jermaine Ifedi, it is not great in space. Like, what is this? James Daniels gets beat, but that happens when you run the ball almost 35 times. Like, you're going to lose some run plays. That's okay. The trouble is, in my opinion, I would almost rather it was practically unknown that if the Bears don't get much running the ball on first down, they're going to throw it. Because this play specifically, and hey, you may have, like, you feel free to have a different opinion, but I watched this kind of play. The whole defense is triggering down because the Bears have run the ball enough off of an 8-man box. This could have easily been a play action pass of some kind. And Fields threw the ball so well today, I don't know why you wouldn't. Like, I almost feel like the Bears should just run play action so often that other teams just live in fear of Fields holding on to the ball and leave that running room open. Maybe that's what the Bears were anticipating, but instead they pick up like 3 yards, nothing specific, or nothing sexy, nothing crazy, and the Bears are beginning to try to kill the game in like the third quarter. Now, I'd also like to I also personally love the concept of play action on first down, because at least then it's a little less obvious. But first down runs aren't like bad, and I'm basically trying to say for every run there should be a play action pass, kind of. That's the trouble, right? But I don't want to overstate the point. It's just run the ball might work against the Lions, but run the ball is going to struggle against the Packers, against the Niners, against the Bucks, against maybe even the Raiders. Like, I personally think that there's a lot more you can do with play action and Fields holding onto the ball, whether you're rolling out, so on and so forth, but you can't run. That's the thing, John. Exactly like you're saying. I wouldn't say run play action 3 times in a row. Like, not the point. The point is that running the ball twice in a row leaves you a shot at Elon. That's the Nagy offense. But yeah, running the ball twice in a row always leaves the chance that you're going to have to make a third down play. And on this third down play specifically, he does not. Let me see. I can't remember what happens here. Oh, yeah, they run mesh, and it doesn't work. Like, I can't tell whether part of this is just Fields gets nervous or something, but the Bears basically run. Okay, so if you don't know what mesh is, it's fairly common, so you'll get it, and it's one of Fields' favorite plays. But basically, you're just having these two guys are going to, I think it's Kmet and whoever's on the side, I think it's Goodwin, are basically just going to cross right there in the middle, and then you're going to have Mooney come over the top and like sit down on a hook right here, and you're basically just watching for whichever of these two defenders gets picked by the other defender. So as you watch the mesh come together, and it looks like a mesh, you can even see it kind of starting to set up. Kmet looks like he's going to try to set a pick for, I think that's Goodwin, who kind of gets hit right at the top of his route right there. But as soon as that happens, Goodwin is open with space. And so Mooney's covered, Kmet's covered, Goodwin's open, but Fields is kind of drifted in the pocket. It's like his first moment this game where he really drifts in anything. So he kind of gets himself hit as he throws the ball, and Goodwin kind of saw it coming, so he slows down a little bit because he'd gotten chipped right up there at the top of his route. But either way, these kinds of third down plays, look, I don't want to be nosy. I just personally think that when you kind of declare that you're probably passing because it's 3rd and 5, like this is the setup where I would say Fields is at his weakest. The other stuff that they can do on any other down is a lot more valuable and it's a lot more dangerous. The play action threat itself, which the primary reason I keep emphasizing it is because it creates longer throwing windows and longer and better pockets. That is dangerous, whereas third down, find a way to convert offense, maybe you'll get Fields converting here and there. It's not problematic, but it's where he's not as good. And I think this play is a perfect example of that, which again, like Brandon is saying, there's tons that Fields can do here. Like what I would say, Tyler, that Fields probably could have done specifically is, so you're going to see Fields drift a little bit to the side over here, whereas I think if he'd stayed center, he probably would have been able to hold it a little better. Like for instance, you're going to see him move to there. This is going to sound like a very minute difference. Move to there instead. So instead of drifting more towards this spot, he goes to that one instead. It's a small difference, and football is a game of inches, as Aqib Talib wanted to continue saying, and I love Talib, by the way, but he kept mentioning it's a game of inches. This is about a foot that makes a big difference, maybe a meter, probably closer to 2 feet. But so Fields steps into that area right there, and I think if he's, again, right there, he's got just enough wrist to flick it to Goodwin, who might make the play because he got thumped pretty good, and that safety was coming downhill. I really don't know if there was a play here. It's not a good mesh, but happens. I just don't love to yeah. I also tend to think Fields, that makes sense, Brandon. That's another good way to put it. That instead of sliding through the pocket, Fields kind of runs to it. Like you're going to see Fields more run to the spot than he does slide to anything. But John, I don't know, I think he does kind of drift where he's throwing. Think, and this is going to sound so silly, think like Madden, where if you've played Madden recently, when you want to target the throw, you want to put it on the receiver's right side shoulder, you thump your stick to the right and then hold the button, and it kind of makes your quarterback drift a little bit and then throw it. Fields kind of looked like he was literally doing that, which is hilarious. You know, it all comes back to Madden at the end of the day. And like you're saying, Bob, one thing I will throw out is, so Bob Peckle says it looks like there's a hole to run. Brandon, I think that's what Fields saw. I think Fields saw this hole right here with man coverage and thought, oh shoot, I should run the ball. So he starts to run the ball and then he gets hit immediately. Again, rookie stuff. Like, I wouldn't even say this is like bad. It's an incompletion on 3rd and 4, where my argument would be do more with it on 2nd down. Like on 2nd and 8, there's more you can do to set up not 3rd and 5 than running the ball. But that's where my head is at, is that whether it's a screen pass, whether it's a play action pass, whether it's a play action bootleg, whether it's like a zone read or something like that there's more you can do. I understand the zone read that I just mentioned is a running play, but something that generates options and at least considers throwing the ball might help you out a little more. Instead, the Bears punt, they give it to the Lions on the short field, and the Lions actually cash in on this really nicely. This is the kind of stuff they did all game. Credit to the Lions for proper scouting, because they basically pick off Alec Ogletree here, and it works perfectly. Like, they get Alec Ogletree on a play action pass where Ogletree steps up right there and then flicks the ball to TJ Hawkinson. Zoom. I agree. I forgot this even was a penalty, because is it what's it a penalty? What's it a penalty for? Like the return. Oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, this is the kind of thing where they called it fair catch interference. he obviously catches the ball, so he didn't interfere with the catch. Like, I don't love this kind of thing. These are the sorts of penalties that the worst part is it's 15 yards for playing proper special teams, if you will, or at least what you used to call proper special teams. But hard to interfere. If he interfered with the ball, he obviously didn't do it well, and he hit him hard enough. I think he had his chance. I don't know. It reminds me of the Cordero Patterson fumble that got taken back a little while ago. What was that, 2019 in Green Bay? But we don't need to go down that road. Like, that was a frustrating one. On this play specifically, though, like, seriously, there were some fun things. I can't believe I'm saying this, right? Because the Lions used to be just a flat-out mess, right? But this is a really pretty little play. You've got a guy like TJ Hawkinson that's quick on his feet. And so what they're going to do is they've just got him running an over route right here, right into Ogletree's face, who has not been a phenomenal he's not been a phenomenal cover linebacker, and they slip right by him because Ogletree's going to have to step up to cover the play action. Like, why do I talk so much about play action? It's that first step. Ogletree isn't covering. Instead, he's playing the run already. He's in his run gap, and then as soon as Goff pulls the ball out, Hawkinson's on the move. He's trying to come up from a standstill. He's never going to catch him, even if he was Roquan Smith, but he's not. So he just gets caught way out. And like Brandon's saying, the guy who's supposed to cover him is Deion Bush, who is right here. I don't know what Bush is doing, but he gets way off on the other side. Just just does his own thing, I guess you could say, and does not help. But even so, again, I almost want to tip my cap to the opponent because I would consider the Lions a worse team than the Bears, but they moved the ball against the Bears a lot better than the Bengals did, who's a better team, and I think that's credit to them. Like, they attacked the weaknesses that the Bears had and tried to negate the Bears' strengths, which, take a look at Goldman right here. Goldman rips right through the line. I only just noticed this, but he gets straight through because they're trying to run something that looks like play action, and Goldman is in Goff's face. Had Goff been any slower on that, dead. But instead, he gets the ball out, Hawkinson's open, and it's a 25-yard gain. It can be that close. But so Lions basically take the momentum that they gained from a weaker offensive series, and memory serves, they score. They score, by the way, off of another gorgeous little play. I love this thing. So, Brandon, you could tell me what Bush is supposed to do, but I know I've seen what a lot of these guys do. You're going to catch a motion right here that turns into a snag route. I love this. So, they use play action again. It's third down, by the way. You can't see it, but I love the fact that this is also a third down play. So, Bush has his eyes on the quarterback and what the quarterback's going to do with the ball, because normally you've got that guy coming through, and the Bears fake play action, so Bush has his eyes specifically on Goff, and out in the corner of his vision, the receiver leaks right back into the open space, and Bush just doesn't catch it quick enough. So Goff gets the ball out. They're able to just barely get it in there, 5 yards and only 5 yards. But credit to the Lions. This is the kind of thing, if I was a coach, I would steal this, because this was good. I love this little snag motion right there. I'm sure the Lions didn't do it first. Which is not to come after Anthony Lynn, by the way. It's more to say that it just seems like something that would be very obvious with as much motion at the snap as happens. But that was fun. Exactly like you're saying, John, at the snap motion caused confusion there. I really love that little snag route. I saw that touchdown. I was like, ooh, that's good. Somebody needs to keep that, because that's exactly the kind of thing that you just pick up and you go, ooh, that worked a little too well. But so, yeah, exactly. The Rams, that makes sense. Yeah, oh gosh, with Cooper Kupp running that, I can't even imagine. Cooper Kupp, by the way, has had an unreal season. I mean, are we really surprised? Matthew Stafford has been awesome, or at least he's been a big upgrade over Goff. But yeah, and let's get back into it. So the Bears try a bootleg here, and I love this because I think it's hilarious. So I want to just point out that the Bears have run this play for like a year now, right? The Bears have been running this exact bootleg for Mitch for forever. Like, you've got the backside wide receiver who's basically just a third route for the primary two guys right here. You got your short throw to Kmet, you got your deeper throw to Mooney. And normally you just boot, you hit the short throw, and you move on. I agree, Jordan. I think this is the kind of thing that's good. Now, defenses are starting to get wiser and wiser on how you defend these boot actions. So I get why they want to basically make him a pocket passer, or at least show that they can. But now that Justin hit a lot of these throws from the pocket, I think he's one strong pocket game away. All he's got to do is hit like 2 or 3 deep shots, which granted, that's a lot. Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you so much. You have no idea how much that helps. But so, getting back to it, even just hitting a couple throws downfield like he did, I think makes these boot actions work a little better because they become less need and more want. Or like something that you can do instead of something that you have to do. But what's funny about this, and the reason I have it paused, is I want you to notice how long Fields sits on the Mooney throw. Like, he sits on it, he wants to throw this, he throws a little pump fake right there, and finally he gets the ball to commit, arguably a little late. Like, normally, at least when I've seen Mitch run this, you throw it pretty much right there. Like, that little pump fake draws the guy back enough that you just pump it, snap it straight to Kmet, who runs upfield, and he's going to get to like there before he's tackled. So like an 8-yard gain. But instead, Fields really sits on it. Like, he really wants to try to fit this ball in there, and he knows he can't. He knows he shouldn't, but he wants to, dang it. He wants to make that throw. He wants to throw beyond the sticks. And so he finally snaps the ball to Kmet. I wonder if he let out some kind of a sigh or like a because I really get the impression watching Fields that it's not just he likes to throw deep. He wants to throw deep. He craves throwing deep. Hitting the shots that he hit throughout this game, that's what he wants to do. And a lot of quarterbacks can say, I want to do that. But it's exactly, John. Fine. I'll throw short. Fine. And so then they go back to the Wild Bear again. Like, it's super fun. I love this. But so, I hadn't even thought about that, Jordan. So going back to this, like, let's take a look at Kmet's fake, because Kmet's got to sell it. I don't know if he got a ton of... Oh, Uno is Justin Fields' dog, KL3, just to to get there. So remember Justin Fields, big story of the day is his parents wanted to celebrate him becoming the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears, and he said, no, I'm just going to stay and watch film at my house with my dog Uno. Well, Uno needs to watch more film, so we got to pay for his Game Pass subscription, which All-22 is spotty on it, but that's neither here nor there. But so Bears go back to Wild Bear. I really am loving this kind of stuff, if only because it shows me that they do have an idea of how to be creative in the running game. Like, where's this stuff for their running back? Normally, they don't. Like, they could do any of this with their quarterback because Justin Fields could certainly run well enough. But watch this. I love this kind of stuff where you've got Montgomery making a read where he could hand it off, run it with Damien Williams right here, but instead they get Marquise Goodwin with a head of steam out in front blocking for David Montgomery and a ton of space. Like, this is awesome. I love it. I really do. I don't want to get too crazy, exactly like you're saying, Brandon. Like, I don't want to get too crazy on the Wild Bear, but this is the kind of running game that I think the Bears could work with. And Shell Bullet, that's a good question. I don't really know, but I love the concept of what they did with this run, whoever runs it. But the ability to get a speedy threat right here, working this block so that he can get the edge with tons of force just like that. Montgomery obviously breaks the tackle, and they collect, oh gosh, what is that? Line of scrimmage over here. So we're looking at like the 32, and they got to the other 45. So very healthy gain. Did you say that's Khalil Herbert? Oh, that is Herbert. Oh man, that's 24. Yeah, he comes out and makes a block in force, which is great because Bears may need him. But yeah. Either way, these are the kinds of plays that I personally think are becoming they're fun, part of it is the Lions. Like, I'll always caveat that, like, it's the Lions. It's the Lions. There's an aspect to that. But I also think that a creative running game can certainly be a lot stronger than just a stale running game where you just like one thing or another, so on and so forth. We've got a call to watch A-Rob. Let's take a look at him. And oh no. A-Rob thinks about it, but he says, what was it Brandon Parker said? 16 more games or whatever it is. Yeah. A-Rob, here's another one on the end zone cam. Like you've got, and yeah, I'm done here. Montgomery makes a nice little rest of the play as they watch it. Ooh, not ideal, but yeah, exactly, Reinhardt. That is not my job. So is this the one I think it is? Oh man. Yeah. These kinds of throws are just insane. Like my whole football watching career, like as I've tried to become a better and better analyst, this throw that I'm about to show you, this has always been covered based on what I've seen. Quarterbacks just won't throw it. Nick Foles won't throw it. Mitch Trubisky won't throw it. Chase Daniel won't throw it. You're sensing a theme, I'm sure. But like you a lot of these quarterbacks, Dalton won't throw it. Like but in this case, like, wow, he just fits it in and it is bananas. There's a lot of argument that I would say that you could, so I've seen you guys talk like which throw is Fields' best. All of them to some degree, but in this case, like, wow, this is gorgeous. So to answer your question, Eric, because that's a great question. How is this open, but the bootleg wasn't? I think it's because of the fact that the corner's head is turned. Credit to Fields. He notices that with Allen Robinson coming across, there's going to be a throwing window literally right here where the corner has to turn around. And in turning around, he can't watch the ball. So because he can't, like on the other one, you had a corner sitting underneath that's watching like he was watching the play, waiting to trigger down. But in this case, he sees that this safety is looking over this shoulder to a route coming over here. And so because of that, he's basically able to throw like that corner isn't really there, or at least like he's not going to pick the ball off. And man, oh man, is that pretty or what? Now, somebody said it's terrible safety play. I want to see that. So this is the grass guarding. You can already see it. So when I talk about Tashawn Gibson guarding grass, this is it. Look at this safety. So in position. So guarded. This grass, nobody's going through that grass, right? If Allen Robinson takes this route up, nobody gets through there. Lockdown, baby. Let me draw. Let me see. Let me draw a little padlock because nobody's getting through that grass. But Allen Robinson's turning his shoulders, so he's not going in there. And maybe he is watching for a double move, Jordan. But I do think that like there are tons of schemes where I've seen the safeties trigger down. Like you've got to get down on these hole shots, especially against cover 2, because that's what they're scheming up. But hey, either way, like Justin Fields sees the opportunity, he lets this ball go, and that placement is absolutely unbelievable. Like I can't get enough of this placement because it is the tightest of tight windows, and he just fits him in anyways. Like, check this out. Boom. So the beautiful part to me about this is that he gets it about 2 yards or like before the sidelines, to the point where Allen Robinson has tons of real estate to actually make the catch. Like, this isn't even something where Allen's having to stretch out for the ball well over the sidelines. He ends up needing to toe drag, but he has so much room to make this play that, again, I don't want to call anything easy. It's still a tough catch downfield, all things told, but this is pretty like very, very nice. Let's take a look at whether he's looking off the safety, because that's a good question. So it looks as if at the very least Fields' head never gives away that that Allen Robinson's breaking. Hard to tell, obviously, because we're just looking at a guy's head and just assuming that's where his eyes are. But it seems as if Fields points his head down the field, which that's where his options are. And he doesn't necessarily give away that the guy's breaking until he winds up and lets the ball howl. But oh, does he? Like, that is some pretty stuff. So again, this is yet another play set up by tight bunch sets and play action. So you've got Fields in this case. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you could see this. Fields kills to this, by the way. So let's see right here, I want you to just watch Fields. I wish I could zoom in. We can't. Oh, well. But Fields kills to this play. So whatever they had, Fields sees something he likes, hits the kill, gets the word out, everybody kills behind him, and then check this out. So they run the play action pass, and you have Kmet and Graham with 2 extra guys, double team there, and only Ifeadi's one-on-one. Only Ifeadi. So you've got a 7-man blocking setup, basically max protect, without the running back even involved, with 2 guys downfield. I really think you could work with these kinds of things. I've even seen Green Bay run 1 receiver routes before, just to give an example. But so you're able to use these to set up beautiful, clean pockets for your quarterback. And when you've got, according to Pro Football Focus anyways, one of the best play action passers, or not play action, the best clean pocket passers, at least in college football history, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets to the point where he's one of the best pocket passers, clean pocket passers in football, period, here fairly soonish. Like, you let that go. This is so pretty. Yeah, Fady gets wrecked pretty bad, all things told. I really don't understand Ifeadi, or the idea behind letting Ifeadi be the primary right tackle. Maybe they just really liked those 3 games against Houston, Minnesota, Jacksonville, but wasn't my decision. Hopefully that'll be Tevin Jenkins here fairly soon. Johnny, thanks so much for jumping in. Glad to have you along. But so, continuing to go right on through, yeah, 90 plus clean pocket PFF grade. That is bananas. Adedamola. I want to get these names right as often as I can anyways. But so, Bears run the ball. Now it's time for second down. Again, this is one of those where yeah, no kidding, right, John? But so, the Bears run the ball. They run it again. They try it out of a couple different formations. The Lions actually stiffened up against the run a little bit. I can't tell if part of it is that they just committed more guys, and part of it's that the Bears tried stuff that didn't necessarily work, by the way, where Roquan T, great to have you along. You're going to see here that the Bears basically just try to get these 3 downhill and pull everybody else around. So on this play specifically, they don't get a ton out of it. A lot of chaos, not a lot of yardage. And then I can't remember the third down play. I know they don't get into the end zone. But so let's take a look here. Be fairly patient. Yeah, end squeezes down unblocked, exactly like you're saying, Grant. But so I think they were trying to freeze him with Fields. So theoretically, I think Fields was supposed to see that. But Fields also sees this guy coming down, so why would he take that hit? He's not going to do anything. One of those where you didn't end up stymieing the guy like you wanted him to. This is good defense. I mean, all things told. And by good defense, I mean good defensive fundamentals. Where I've heard a lot that as a defender, you want to follow the guys in front of you. Where if they go, you go. And so in this case, 53 does a really good job of that. Gets right in front of the play. Montgomery really just never had anything he was going to do. Talk through the unbalanced formation part, Brandon. I never mind formation talk on just how a lot of that stuff affects anything. But, yeah. Let's see. So then it's third down, which I've already talked about a couple times. Not a huge fan. So here is, let's see. Okay, so this combination, the Bears have a little pick set up. At least it seems like it. Where they've got Mooney running basically this. I don't even know what that would be called, honestly. Because the point is that Kmet's going to stem long, and then Kmet's going to go for the corner right here. But so from there, he's got somebody coming over the middle, and the Lions are going to bring a blitz. Now, I don't know what happens with Fields, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys coming straight down on we've got five guys, so you get the idea. Blitzer right here, and then you've got a nice little picking action by Mooney right here, and Fields really wants the touchdown, so he lets it go. And I agree 100% with the people saying it's a hold. I think it is. Like, I don't know quite how this doesn't get called. Like, it's a hold for sure. But if you can't tell where I'm hinting at talking about the blitz, if he throws hot, it's first down. Like, this is the kind of thing where I think Fields could improve. Like, the word here being improve. I wouldn't even call this a rookie moment. I would argue this is more Fields' play style clashing with what might work in the NFL, because once he sees the 5-man blitzer, like, you throw to him, you're in. Not in. I don't want to say in, like, in the end zone. But you throw to Allen Robinson right there, he catches the ball, falls forward, or you go for it. Like, you've got a ton of stuff, or, like, that throw is too open to pass off, to me anyways. But like you're saying, I mean, Jordan, Fields is greedy. He wants the touchdown. Dadgummit, he's going to throw the touchdown. And it's hard to tell whether the throw is, like, good. As a matter of fact, I think he gets hit and the throw ends up wayward. But it's a defensive hold, and he should have been bailed out by the penalty. Even so, I would love to see him just check down the hot right here, because once he sees the 5-man blitz, even if he just peeks at that crosser, maybe he didn't want it, partially because hitting his hot did him no good last year or like last week against Cleveland. So he's like, screw it, I'm not throwing hot anymore. Probably not. But once Fields throws the ball, so the trouble with the touchdown talk is the ball lands out of bounds. Maybe Fields or Kmet catches it. Be a heck of a catch. But I get the impression that that his unbalanced footwork on this play specifically, like, if we watch what Fields ends up throwing the ball in, he basically waits until the last possible moment and just gives it a flick of the wrist. I tend to think that that this just wasn't the throw he wanted to make, and it was as much, let me get rid of the ball, as anything else. But either way, we take these, especially in a game like this. Could have been a hold. It's a nice learning moment for the Rook either way. I don't know whether he saw the blitz because he didn't really care. But he did see the blitzer, and he didn't get sacked until later. But yeah, exactly, Jordan. I mean, it's hard to tell, right? And who's to know? That's the trouble, Roquan. Like, who's to know whether he's able to make the play, all things told? But I don't know whether Kmet gets there. I really have no idea. But I will say that that at the very least, we don't know the conclusion because there was a defensive hold. So next up is maybe Fields' only truly not good series, which we all remember. But let's see. So the Lions they get their second touchdown of the game. Long drive, too. And they're able to get in. Let's talk through this, because I actually haven't taken a look at this one quite yet. I was just staring at all that juicy Justin Fields tail. Oh gosh, Brandon, you can chime in. I mean, this is very clearly Deion Bush just goofing at coverage, right? I mean, I'm not twisting this up because Deion Bush seems, watching Jackson, that they're dropping into either the cover 6 that they like to drop into with Bush over here, and then Jalen and Jackson, where you've got 1, 2, 6, usually, or like 4 and 6. You get the idea. But so Bush just stands there. It's like he just doesn't do it. Whatever he's doing. I think it might be quarters, as a matter of fact. Yeah, exactly like you're saying, Reinhardt. As soon as I watched Vildor, I think it's quarters. So Vildor headed back makes me think now that we're looking at 1, 2, 3, and then 4 right there. But yeah, not great, because I mean, look, this is high school stuff. You know what I'm about to say. When you've got 2 defenders in the same area, you've done something wrong. And so in this case, the Lions are prepping to beat cover 2 with a post. But let's go, John, with 3.1 maybe. Because I don't even know if this gets half credit. But so Bush just doesn't take the guy deep. If Gibson's going to get his job back, probably because plays like this. Like, silly as that sounds, like I would tell you straightforward, Bush and Gibson had kind of washed. I mean, not really. Gibson hadn't made, well, the first game was not good. So like, or wait, he's got what back? Oh, did Bush make a play afterwards? But so at this point, oh yeah, Gibson's got it back. That's what you're saying? Because Bush giving that up is really bad. Like, this is exactly the kind of thing where you just look at this play, and that, especially late in the game, for crying out loud, you can't have it. And so if it was a question of whether Bush was going to stay the hot hand or not, no. Like, this is the kind of thing you get sent to the bench for, as probably surprises no one. And 14-21 or 14-24 at this point. So then the Bears get the ball back, but first we'll watch a little bit of the defensive line. They were like, defensive line, good job overall. I mean, not their greatest. One thing that I think has been really impressive about this Bears defensive line, would you believe it, they're not actually generating a ton of pressure. Like, that's going to sound absolutely ridiculous. Oh, thank you so much, Roquan. That's so unbelievably kind of you to say. But so the interesting thing about the Bears front is that they aren't killing dudes like the Browns are, right? They're not winning crazy one-on-one passing matchups. They're just getting one guy through, whether it's off of a stunt, whether it's a single good play. Like, the Bears will get one guy through, and then that guy will collect a sack or make them pay. It's not like, what is this? It's not the Buccaneers. It's not a lot of these teams that are just destroying people with pass rush. Instead, it's just, okay, they ran a stunt and Max threw and Mac got a sack. Oh, Quinn made a nice individual play. Like, oh, Quinn, or what is it? Akeem Hicks, he got through off of a stunt with Nichols. Exactly like you're saying, Reinhardt. It's good scheming. It's good scheming, meeting opportunistic like players like Quinn having a good season. Because honestly, I think if you guys have seen it, because I know I have, and I'm so glad that Rule of 3 video got redeemed. You have no idea how funny it is that finally my most seen video is actually like correct. Thank goodness. But Quinn having like a speed rusher is dangerous, because like when you have a speed rusher on your team, all it takes is the outside tackle missing the snap count for a split second and he's around. Like, he's straight through. And Quinn had a play like that we already went over. But if Quinn can continue to just be that little difference, like this would be really cool. Like, because he's able to, you get the idea. But so, anyways, let's keep going, because I kind of lost my train of thought there. But yeah, Desai looks great right now, at least so far. Let's see. Yeah, I love the Rule of 3 versus 2. I like it. But honestly, Travis Gibson, Grant, I didn't expect Gibson to V2. I didn't expect Travis Gibson to. So I made that little thing on Gibson's growth. I didn't think he would play this well. We can go into more Gibson stuff later. You want to talk about Fire Zone? Jordan, I need to learn more about Fire Zone before I can make sure to talk about it so I know exactly what I'm talking about. But watching Aranda at Baylor has been really fun, by the way. So it looks like here the Bears run another little RPO. I kind of know this series. This is one that I sped watched. But so it looks like the Bears are basically watching for if this guy cares. If he plays the run, bubble. But in this case, he plays the pass. You hand it off. You take the 5 yards. Oh, this is the injury. Oh, I'm not surprised that the Bears. I always forget that, like, the these exact kinds of series where a team loses a huge player, they do not tend to do well, which can't be rocket science. I doubt anybody's surprised by that. But when the Bears lost an offensive leader here off of what looked to be a fairly decent run, we're not going to get a great camera of the injury, and I don't mind because gruesome stuff is not fun. But in this case, Monty goes down. Not good. Like, prayers up for David Montgomery, but honestly, prayers were answered that it wasn't an ACL, because I've seen tons of injuries like this that commentary describes as gruesome, and it's a knee injury, and yep, there's the season, maybe their career. In this case, specifically, the fact that he may be back in 4 to 5 weeks is just insane. I mean, John, to your point, you talk about how he's not on the IR. This reminds me of when Monty, it looked like he pulled a groin or pulled a hamstring, and he was back in like a week. And, I mean, his injury recovery is insane. But so, we'll see what happens there. Either way, Tom, you asked, I think it was Tom. Let me see, somebody asked about QB runs. Yeah, Tom, you asked about QB runs. I like them. I think that the creativity the Bears shown in the Wild Bear is something that they could carry over directly to Fields. But in this case specifically, I think they just hand the ball off to Williams, who actually gets a decent little gain. Look at that. I forgot they got a first down here. If they got a... Yes, they did, didn't they? So these are the shotgun stuff that I like it. So what is this? We've got Fields killing the play right there. And then Williams races right up on through. So if you watch this, we've got a little bit of a shift, but I want us to take a look at the offensive line to just see what happens. Mustipher gets bullied a little bit, but at least he gets bullied in the right direction, basically. So in this case, he's still technically engaged with this guy while Whitehair is fighting as hard as he can. Credit to Daniels and Ifedi, they form the tunnel, and at least if Mustipher is going to go down, he's going to drag his guy with him. This is kind of hilarious because I think you could probably call this a hold if you didn't almost feel bad for Mustipher. Like, Mustipher gets tossed, but at least he pulls his man down with him, so a block is a block, you know? And Williams is able to cut back up the hole. Credit to Daniels making a nice physical play. Jeez, I really framed it on Mustipher in a not kind way to him, didn't I? But yeah, Daniels gets out into space. Sorry guys, I need to Oh gosh. Like, that's just not good, but at least we know. Yeah, no kidding, John. That is a very common roll-up scenario for for a guy like Whitehair in that case. But yeah, Reinhardt, that's perfect. Hi, that's me. You know what? Hang on. Let's go to... I want to see this. Let's see if we can pull it off. What is it? It's the 90s movies. I just watched She's the Man for the first time, the Amanda Bynes movie. That was fun. But so my wife has been on this tear where she's like, you haven't seen blank? And I'm like, no. And so we're not even trading movies. I'm just drinking from the fire hose on all the stuff she grew up on. But either way, disc scratch. Hi. Yeah. That's me, Sam Mustipher. I bet you're wondering how I got into this position. Well, let me tell you. Damien Williams gets a nice little gain. But so, let's see, Jacob. Odds Chicago makes the playoffs? I'm going to sound really sad here, but it's like 10%. Probably. Maybe a little lower. That's going to sound ridiculous, but I am just betting low. I'm going to fade the team from the playoff perspective because goodness, their schedule's so hard. Like, Jacob, I would tell you odds that this team beats last year's Bears team like 70%. Like, I would give the 2021 Bears a great shot at beating the 2020 Bears. But I don't know if they'd make the playoffs, because they don't get to play the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Houston Texans or so on and so forth. Like, it's trouble. This schedule is hard. And like Jordan's saying, if they can go 2-2, Jordan, that's a huge win. Like, this is the sort of thing where I would look at this schedule and I would say doing better than 3-6 after 9 games, good job, Bears. Like, honestly, the schedule's just so tough. Niners, Bucks, Packers, Ravens. Raiders are not bad. And that's just like 6 teams off of the rest of the schedule. Shell Bullet, I hope we can beat the Packers. I'm never going to look any Bears fan dead in the eyes and be like, haha, we're definitely going to do it. And we can't. But it's just a big question of who even are the Packers this year. I think they're still good, but also, who's Fields? Bears have a quarterback for what seems like first time. Let's go ever for fun, right? So when you've got a quarterback, you can steal wins that you just have no business taking. Russell Wilson's done that forever. We've seen it forever, guys. Like over a decade at this point. So Russell Wilson will just, I would like that. Thank you. And just take a win that he has no business taking. Kyler's done the same thing. So at this point, can Fields, especially by the end of the season, just steal one from the Packers? Maybe. Exactly. Like, Rodgers has stolen wins for forever. But when you get to the right, somebody talked about Pittsburgh. I think that Pittsburgh looks reasonable, especially because the Pittsburgh almost said Penguins, Steelers have no option at quarterback. Like, I don't think Big Ben's playing well. I don't think it's going to get better. Like, I don't think it will for them. So they might be beatable in like a 17-16 just grind game. But we'll see. A lot of it depends on how Fields grows. So far, trending in the right direction. But this game against the Raiders is going to tell us a lot. Continuing on, Bears run play action. Ooh, yes. So this is the strip sack. These are exactly the kinds of areas where I personally think let's see, Reinhardt. Yeah. Oh, you mean last week, like the Herbert game? The Chargers game? I need to watch it because I watched the game, but watching the game live on Mondays, like, I don't know if you guys can tell, but on Mondays specifically, after a long week of work and a Saturday of trying to make something, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. And then Sunday, watching everything, podcasts, etc., etc. Monday is like as close as I get to a day off. So like I take a football game in, so on and so forth. But man, I realize later afterwards, I'm like, did I watch that? But so yeah, if they lost all their corners, that's a breakout game waiting to happen. Silly as it sounds, because you've got that front seven that is solid. Certainly, they've got they've got pass rushers that I would say are better than our offensive line. Talking here about the Raiders, but hey, all it takes is Mooney getting open for a 70-yard gain. Apparently, wild to think that. But so these kinds of play action passes are where I want to see Fields get a little bit better, because this does not have to be a strip sack. Like, in my opinion, when I watch Fields, the one thing that I would say, and first of all, by the way, Fields is an absolute battler for his own lost fumbles. That's going to sound so stupid, but like the intangibles about like, does Fields care enough when he so far he's recovered all of his strip sacks. Like here he gets stripped, he keeps battling for it, runs down, picks up the ball, gets down, like hilarious. Or not even hilarious, just kind of cool. But so, and yeah, exactly like Jordan's saying, this is what I would consider arrogance, or it's kind of a misread. Like, because so Kmet gets just beat, right? He gets spun on because you can't just keep putting a tight end on an edge rusher the entire freaking game. But if you guys can tell, the check down's wide open with this guy faded so far back, it's first down. Throw it to your running back. Like, I get that he wants to hit Jimmy Graham, but this is a one-man route, and you can already tell that the corner is fading backwards. Check it down. Like, you throw it right there, he catches it. If he beats the guy, he gets like 10. If he doesn't beat him, he gets like, what's the word? He gets 4. So the trouble with Jimmy is that Jimmy ends up right in the passing lane. And that's exactly where, that's exactly, in my opinion, Jordan, where he's trying not to put it. Like, yes, you could probably fade the ball there, but then you think about that DB breaking back to it, because NFL DBs are scary. They do that kind of thing. In my opinion, the beauty of the, let's see, do they consider running 9-man protections? I don't know, Shane, but I will tell you that these are the kinds of plays where when I keep emphasizing play action, this is where Fields just needs to get a little bit better. Like, as I personally watch it, like, I would tell you that, let me see. So I would tell you that if he gets to this point where he looks, He doesn't see, especially if he feels like who's thinking TD? Where'd we get to the TD to strip sack? Oh, are we looking at Mooney again? At least the safety's on him this time. Like, maybe you pop the ball over, but that's very tough. So, like, oh, you're going touchdown to check down. I got you, John. That's creative. But so anyways, you could probably try, like, if you threw it right now, right, buzz the ball right through the safety. Maybe if you lofted it and the DB never saw it, maybe. But when I look at this, you hit the back of your drop. It kind of looks like nothing's going to be there. Your backside your backside protection isn't holding up. Throw it to the running back. Let him do his running back thing. A linebacker, maybe a DB, versus a running back in space is a matchup you're supposed to like. Running backs do that all the time, especially with space. So I don't know. It sounds boring, right? Check it out. But at the same time, we watched Justin Herbert's game against 2020 week 2 just the other day. Checkdowns to Austin Eckler, deadly. That's like 90 yards of his first 120 yards, for crying out loud. In my opinion, if the Bears really want to get dangerous on play action, Justin Fields is going to have to learn to occasionally not make the throw he wants to, because this is technically holding onto the ball too long. In my opinion, your pocket's giving way. You got to just get the ball out. And if you do, especially with this guy fading backwards, he drops to about there by the time Williams catches the ball. And then he's got probably, give or take, 5 yards of space to make some kind of play in it. He either gets 4 yards or he gets like 12. And that's a good play. Like, I do think that there's an aspect of maybe he trusted Kmet too much on the block. I love the fact that Fields fought for the football like he did to get back to it. They lose 24 yards and the drive's over. But that's the kind of thing where, hey, you're not going to get the deep shot every single time. And exactly like you're saying, Holy Samurai, like he talked about it in the presser. Let me see. That was only, yes, like, I thought the offensive line did a very good job. Kmet really didn't make a lot of mistakes before this, by the way. But so here, like eventually your tight end can't win every battle that he's in, and this is a perfect example of one of those, especially because Kmet ranged over for it. I don't know why Jason Peters isn't helping a little more, but they can work that out on the whiteboard. I think it's just because Kmet was supposed to basically blindside him, but yeah, you take the check down right there, and in my opinion anyways, and you live to fight another down. But either way, Kmet as a 6th offensive lineman actually did a pretty good job this game, and if that remains his instrumental role, good, cool, like, sure, I'll take it, because he looked a lot better at it than I would have expected Jimmy Graham to. Like, Kmet was a very, very, very solid blocker throughout the rest of the day. But so, either way, the Bears, then it's like 2nd and 30. So they just decide that they're gonna take what they can. They don't get a ton there. What do they do here? Just a screen. We can do more screens, guys. It's silly, but because what is this? Like, in this specific case, you've got a screen, but that's what it's supposed to look like. And sure, it only gains like 6 yards on 3rd and God knows how long. But I mean, these are the kinds of plays that you get excited about, or I get excited about, because I personally think that a screen game would do a lot of good for Justin, because he likes to hang on to the ball for so long that controlled screens like this could be a great way to bait the defensive line in and then just kick it out. I totally get what you're saying, Eric, though, about it just being the Bears. But John, it is hilarious that we're asking for more screens after all this time, but with how deep the Bears like to go, I just think it's easier to do screens than some of the other stuff that they seem to want to do. But that's just my 2 cents. Is this an airmail? I can't remember this one. Throws. Couldn't be me, right? I don't know. It's hilarious watching other quarterbacks throw deep and being like, I'm allowed to be confident about my quarterback doing that, right? Like, and yeah, exactly, Grant. The people begging to run the ball, like, Especially I formation, power formations, downhill running. There are a lot of people. Nothing wrong if you are. Like, they're like, let's run the ball more. And I do think it's a little hilarious, if only just because during the Foxball era, come on, we got to pass the ball. And now we're passing too much. We got to calm down. Now, my own comrade and compatriot Lester Wiltfong has pointed something out that I think is hilarious. And that's that this should be a sack. Like, it's a 6-yard gain, 100%, but this should be, based on standard scoring, a sack right there. Sack, loss of 6, fumble. Not play over, but from a score sheet perspective, the fact that the ball magically bounces right back to Goff and Goff picks up 6 yards doesn't take the sack away. Gibson should have 2 sacks today. Like, exactly. It's a technically sack, but it's a technically sack with a forced fumble. And I'm hoping the scorekeepers correct it because, fun, right? I think that puts the Bears best in sacks, if that's the case, with 16 right there. But either way, nice heady play from Gibson. I love this. So Gibson, like, check this out. This is sick. If you watch, no kidding, John, right? I love the fact, by the way, talking about technical stats, a quarterback can get sacked 9 times, but that won't take a yard of passing away from him. It'll just give him more sack yardage. So Justin Fields had 1 net passing yard, 60, or whatever it was, like 64 passing yards. Ho, ho, ho. Can't stop those 300-yard games, right? But so, either way, Gibson right here does a great job. Check this out. Like, we got to talk about it because Gibson does a great job in this case of just planting power. And that's not Sewell there at right tackle. Was Sewell's the left tackle at this point, or did he shift back over? Either way, like, let me know. Yeah, I would love to know which one is Sewell right now. But so either way, yeah, Sewell's left tackle, he struggled. Especially against, Quinn got him a couple times. So that's Sewell, number 50. For some reason, he looks... Well, that's not a good example. Rule of on your knees, apparently. But so, let's see. What did Tom say? Yeah, right? About Ogletree. Jared Goff throws. Jared Goff does not connect. Like, again, I think it's hilarious watching some of these, if only because, so the Bears switched, it looks like, to a little bit more cover 3, probably in response to the fact that they kept running post routes. And so Deion Bush is able to get on top of this and make a play. It's a good play, but I do think it's just funny watching Jared Goff throw the ball, if only because I feel confident that our quarterback could make throws. Like, it's just weird with Justin Fields on the team because I'm confident. Again, like, if you can't tell, it's a curious feeling. But yeah, I agree with you, JC. I do think that there are a lot of these deep passes that the Bears should have given more up. I honestly thought the Lions offense was a lot stronger than they were a lot stronger than their points showed. Lynn and the rest of the offense did a very good job with this, but it'll be like, oh, Grant, I'm not 100% sure they're all that far away either. I'm very curious to see what happens on Thanksgiving. Might be, let's see. Yeah, no kidding, right? Worm food. It is a new feeling, but the talent is undeniable, and that's why I'm excited. This is a nice little, this was a very, very nice little play. So nothing specific to break down. Right now, we're just kind of watching the defense a little bit. But so, yeah, no kidding, Reinhardt. I remember exactly that. Like, so these are the kinds of plays that I do think that the Bears, oh gosh. So Goff didn't see this, and thank goodness he didn't. But it looks like, let's see here. Yeah. Okay, so that's not good. Thank goodness for Goff, because that's wide open. We don't like that. Well, then again, hang on. Let me take a look at when they throw it, because he may not actually be open. He may just be in space, and we already threw the ball. But so, let's see here. Yeah, I think there's a very, very strong chance that if Goff fakes this throw and just puts it over the top, that's open. it's a known thing that the way that you beat cover 2 is with posts, and so on and so forth. So you get a post right through the middle, you split it. Oh, thank you, Cody. That's a great question. All right, so if you don't know, if you do donate, if you're kind enough to, and you want to ask a question, like, you donate, I'll stop the show pretty much and just immediately answer it. So if A-Rob leaves after this year, what are our thoughts on pursuing Davante Adams and his potential fit with Fields? It's a good question. I just don't know if it's going to be worth the money. And that's not because Davante Adams isn't great. It's because the only Davante Adams that we know right now is Davante Adams plus Aaron Rodgers, which is insane, right? It's like how the only Gronk that we know is the Gronk plus plus Brady. We don't really know a bunch about Gronk with other quarterbacks. That's not to take anything away from Rob Gronkowski, who's probably the best tight end to ever play, or at least in that conversation. But you get the idea. I am a little wary on such a technical route runner as Davante Adams, who gets stuff out of short yardage. He gets stuff out of mid-range. He gets stuff out of deep. Like, Davante Adams can run any route in the book. Can Justin Fields throw any route in the book? We don't really know yet. Like, he's got the ability to do it. He's got the talent to do it eventually, but like, right, Grant? But my thought is a Mooney type player is a much stronger fit for Fields right now, I would argue, than a Adams type player, because Adams is so unbelievably technical at this point that I would almost argue not a lot of quarterbacks are to get near as much value out of him as somebody like Aaron Rodgers, and that's a lot of extra money that you're going to throw at a player, the extra $5 million, so $25 to $27 million per year, that I don't think you'll get those. I would honestly, so everybody's saying I'd rather just keep A-Rob. I completely agree. I get you, or I get the idea. If A-Rob is checked out, because the Bears didn't keep Kyle Fuller, right? So they didn't keep Kyle Fuller partially because I'm of the impression that he didn't want to stay there. So if it was me, I'd almost just take that $25 million and spend it on 2 separate receivers. So then you get Mooney plus, I'd have to look at the market to get an idea for it. I mean, I know everybody would make fun of it, but you could go get a Juju. You could go do a couple different things with that money. You could trade up for a wide receiver. You can. There's a lot of things that you could do with the same money you would spend on Davante Adams, even the money that you would spend on Allen Robinson, that might, if you really like what if you like what Mooney's going to do, then you can keep Mooney around for that deep shot kind of weapon, and you just need to find the other receivers that are going to do the other stuff. So if Mooney's your deep threat, if Mooney's your Tyler Lockett, how do you find your DK Metcalf? And like Akusa is saying, the obvious answer here is to bring in Anthony Miller. He knows the system. He's ready to play with Fields. I mean, come on, no brainer. Former second-round pick. He did pretty well with, who was it? Didn't he play for Chicago, right? Yeah, he was almost there. But so, all jokes aside, I do think that building inside out on the offensive line would be really solid. I think Fields is the kind of quarterback that's going to get a ton of value out of offensive line. It has shocked me that the Seahawks have been so negligent about offensive line for Russell Wilson, because I keep thinking about, what if Russ played in an offense that had Cleveland's offensive line? What if Russ played in an offense that had Tampa Bay's offensive line? What would Russell Wilson do with offensive linemen out the wazoo? And I don't know, but I tend to think it would work pretty well. And because I see a whole lot of people talking about Olave, I personally find myself, I don't know, it would be awesome. Don't get me wrong. But, it's... Maybe, Jordan, I totally get what you're saying, but you can't have offensive linemen just giving up penetration quite like the Bears' are. Maybe at least you got to pass a certain water line. But yeah, who knows? Either way, we'll have to wait and see. But so the Bears basically ran a whole bunch of cover 2. They were willing to just sort of bend, not break, and they almost broke a bunch. Like they really did. Like the Bears put bend don't break to the test as they gave up 10 yards or 8 yards or 4 yards or 6 yards off of mostly just cover 2 setups, cover 2 and quarters that they switched back and forth. They did not get quite as much as I think the stat sheet would indicate on their what's the word? Like pressure sets, because most of the time, like you could give they might get a sack here and there, but a lot of the Lions plays were similar screens just like this one, where you're going to see the Bears drop back into a coverage set right here where it looks like they're trying to drop into 6. That's just a quick guess off the top of my head, but the Lions kick a wide receiver screen out here that 67, like credit to him, makes a sweet reach block to set up a big screen right there for the Lions, which it's not a ton of yards, like it's just 7, but the Lions were picking up 7 yards and then 5 yards and then 3 yards and then 6 yards and then 2 yards. Like they were just picking first downs up. Third down, they got another. Third down, they got another. And like I said at the very top of the show, which I think 180 of you guys weren't there for, so 9 o'clock, you're late. I'm kidding. But so the Bears defense should be better this next week, if only because I think they just had a down week. 2 great games, 2 games with their eyes on fire, one against Cincinnati, the other against Cleveland. This one, I don't want to say they were just tired, like that's weak, but it's more to say that I get the impression that defenses ebb and flow, just like offenses do, but I think offenses can be a bit more consistent. But this seemed like a game to me where the defense just ebbed and then they could flow, hopefully in Las Vegas, but we'll see. It's Fields' first start as the starter, so the defense certainly has a lot to play for. And, as been said a bunch of times, all it takes is Robert Quinn around the edge once, or a sweet little stunt up in the front, and as soon as you get that, Derek Carr can kind of shrivel up. But yeah, it's just a matter of creating that. And like I'm seeing a lot of guys say, I do think Hicks is kind of the heart and soul of the defense. He has been basically since like 2016 or 20. Yeah, actually, it has been a really long time. Might have been 2017. But so Hicks is not just a good player, but he's a player that is a huge leader in the locker room. And so massive credit not only to the game that he plays, but the effect he has on the defense. I do think that the defense tends to struggle without him. Certainly they've got just a special energy when he's on the field, but if we remember, he took a massive hit to the knee in the what's the word, the Cleveland game. Wouldn't surprise me if he was just taking a week off, and I don't know when he'll come back, but that was gnarly. Like, I remember he was holding his knee and he fought through it because he's just a winner, against a Cleveland team that he needed to be playing against. But I just keep envisioning that hit and Hicks laying on the ground and thinking to myself that we can do this. I'm sure you guys know this, but we can do this dance as fans where because somebody wasn't listed on the injury report or because they'd stayed in the game, we can think to ourselves, oh, that must not have been as bad as I thought it was. Sometimes it is. Like, I don't know how many of you guys follow hockey, but it is hilarious how when a team gets eliminated from playoff contention, half the roster hits the injury report. Like, I don't know whether if you do follow hockey, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, then let me explain it. Basically, in the playoffs, it comes out right after a team loses. Let's say they lose a 6-game series or something. It turns out that their star player had a broken hand, their goalie had a broken rib, their this player was playing through a broken something else. This guy had a torn something. This guy was playing through a pulled groin. Like, just bang, 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 bang. A whole bunch of guys go out, they get off-season surgery, and they come back. And yeah, it just doesn't surprise me if that's a good point. Like, I have no idea, whatever it was, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with Quinn specifically, because exactly like you're saying, Case, like you get that cortisone shot and you're back. But we'll see what happens. Like, let's see. Did they list the Hicks thing, or is he just not practicing? Because I actually didn't get a good look at the injury report. But so here, So this is Dame's first. This is Dame's first drive as the starter, if you will. They start off with what looks like, because I actually haven't rewatched this one yet. I love the fact that they stuck with under center. Under center, 2 receivers with a whole lot of this stuff. Like, I personally think that this is exactly groin. That makes a lot of sense because that knee got yanked and that could easily pull the groin. But so anyways, 2 receivers, which means you're a dangerous play action threat with a whole bunch of potential willing blockers. Like, this is the formation that I would consider their foundation. Like, based on the laser offense, this is where you go from. And the Bears get what looks like a sweet just set of outside zone. And Dame, honestly, he didn't look this fast in KC. I don't want to be ridiculous, but in Kansas City, I didn't get the impression that he was this quick-footed. It's his footwork that matters here, as you're going to see him bounce perfectly, get some space, and go. Like, so to walk through how outside zone works, because we talked about bang, bang, bounce a little bit earlier, but so the Bears' offensive line is working, looks like outside. I don't know what Daniels is doing, but generally speaking, Graham's trying to get out, Kmet's trying to get out, Ifedi's trying to get out, and it's Dame's decision on whether he's going to bang the ball up the middle, bend the ball through the hole, or bounce the ball to the outside. And if memory serves, he picks to bend the ball, and it's a beautiful run as it's a bounce because Kmet creates the hole for it. But either way, it's a quick decision, and it's one that needed to be made exactly as it needed to be made. Like, you've got Mustafa is always kind of just falling down, but so he gets horizontal beautifully, which helps him stiff arm this guy, but it's not even really a stiff arm so much as it's just touching him away from him. He's able to just keep those feet moving and creep down the field for what seems like about 10 to 17 yards, something like that. So from there, they just keep grinding. Like, this is where, to give the Bears offense some credit, it almost seemed as if the Bears offensive line, namely this right-hand side, decided that they were going to take this game home because the Bears need a first down to basically close it out. Oh, that's a beautiful play by James Daniels. Check this out. So, let's see. We've got... I just think... what... Is it Anzalone? Like, I know I've seen it spelled some creative ways, let's just say. But so, let's see. Would he really? In case, that's hilarious. Check out James Daniels on this. I don't want to get too distracted because this is awesome. So Daniels is going to come off the ball. He's going to smack Mustafa's guy, push him out of the way. Then he's going to turn and hit his assignment as Mustafa just sort of follows the block that he popped off, and Williams goes straight through that hole for about 7 yards. Like, this is really nice. I just want to watch it one more time because this, and Ifedi does a pretty good job himself, like just messing around there, like getting in front of his guy. But Daniels basically makes 2 blocks for the price of 1, and creates a great little running lane. Like, that's nice. What are we talking about with Fields? Like, let's see. Oh, this is hilarious. You're right. I hadn't noticed the fact that Fields 2 plays in a row is just like, here's the handoff. How can I help? And he just turns up field. Man, that's just fun. Fields just wants to play. Like, I love it. It's hard to hate that energy. So then what is this? Yeah, now it's 2nd and 1 or 2nd and 2, and the Bears get wrecked. But so let's see this. I think it might actually be Mustafa. It is. Against the Lions. Even against the Lions. I'm hamming this up a little bit because I think it's funny. But goodness gracious. It's like it's every play. I mean, it really is. Goodness gracious. I don't want to be ridiculous, but it is just every play. Like, and here, honestly, the Bears are lucky they don't get away with a hold. Like, James Daniels is not having a great rep. Don't get me wrong, but it is wild how it feels like every point of penetration is a matter of Sam Mustipher getting beat. Like, I have seen a lot of people that will just hit one guy over and over, right? They'll go, it's Kmet's fault. Kmet needs to be better. It's Graham. Graham needs to be better. Graham doesn't play enough to be truly bad. Like, that's not fair. Kmet, it's just a matter of whether or not he's overdrafted. I don't even think, like, Kmet's an objectively better tight end than J.P. Holtz. He's an objectively better tight end, I think, than Jesse James. A lot of my own friends would be like, you're being ridiculous. No, people just tend to almost go after Kmet for no reason. But Sam Mustipher, like, I thought he was a problem when, I really thought Sam Mustipher was a problem last year. We talked about this a little bit, but this year it's like the whole league scouted him, and they knew, and they came ready for it. Because it's week 4. He got destroyed against the Rams. He did not play well, but he played better against Cincinnati. Hard to play worse than he played against the Rams, where they had the opportunity to line Aaron Donald up against Mustipher, and they declined, saying anyone else will beat him, so let's just put Aaron Donald against Whitehair, and he beat him. So Whitehair got beat, and also Mustipher got beat basically the whole game. Then last week, Cleveland, Mustipher kind of got away with one because it felt like the edge rushers just sort of, yeah, exactly, Reinhardt. Like, the Rams basically said, I think this was the biggest insult to Sam Mustipher, unfortunately. The Rams pretty much said anyone can beat him. Like, anyone can. And so we're not going to put Donald on him. And that's what they did. The Browns didn't feel like beating him because they could beat anybody, so they just beat everybody. Like, to say that he played better in the Browns game is to say it relatively, because Daniels was awful, Whitehair was fine, and, like, you get the idea. Like, what was it, Peters and Fady just had a terrible game, but, man, seeing this against the Lions, like, I don't think their D-line is bad, but this kind of stuff just isn't going away. We've barely watched any defense, and it's like it's every play. But so anyways, this sets up a big moment, right? Because the Bears are only up, I think it's 14-24. It's not actually that dire a situation, but even so, it's 3rd and 5. It was 2nd and 2, so think of it as a quick change scenario, right? It's not a turnover, but you go from we are driving the ball to okay, so we kind of got to pick up a first down off of grit, huh? Like, this one's all on the quarterback. And so the Bears are going to run, if memory serves, they have Allen Robinson run sort of a snag. I kind of would have just watched the play real fast. Okay, so not quite. More of just a standard curl. But so, in this case, we've got... Case. That's hilarious. But so, it looks like they just run a basic curl, just a man-on-man route, and Fields throws it with really phenomenal anticipation, all things told. They bring a blitz. There's a little bit of pressure. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rushers. So pretty heavy blitz, all things told. But Fields is starting to throw pre-break, lets the ball go. Game over, pretty much. I can't remember exactly where the clock is at, but I know the Bears, the flag's not on them. Either way, these are the kinds of plays, like we talked about the 3rd down earlier. We've obviously watched the huge throws. Like, these are the kinds of plays that get me excited because Fields is able to put this game away. But so, like, this exact kind of play, it's simple. It's barely silly. Like, it's just a big throw in a big moment for a rookie. And in this setup, I think that's really cool. Like, let me see. Yeah, Reinhardt, I do wonder about that. Like, that's the whole trusting your teammates thing, right? About Mustipher. But even so, I just love Fields being able to make this throw, even amidst defensive pass interference. Like, this is the kind of thing. It pretty much iced the game. That makes 2 in 3 games plays that Fields made to basically put the ball away And exactly like you're saying, Grant, this is one of those where it's like the play call was just simple, like we're just going to throw it to Allen Robinson. And yeah, Cole, going back to it because I love that you're talking about it. It looks like the corner just gets mad, like he's like, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me!" Like, look at the hands on those hips, just like I did all that and you still caught the ball. Are you joking? So I love those kinds of little body language moments, but from there, the Bears pretty much iced the game, and it's complicated, right? We're getting there, Elon. Allison turned the lights off just a little while ago, but that's how it goes. What is interesting, at least I think so, is this now makes, let's see. Oh, that's the thing. So Rahul, you talked about like breakout, or like I've seen people say like, okay, when's Fields' breakout game gonna be? It's kind of this. Like, it's silly to say it because he only had 209 yards. He didn't throw a touchdown, and so on and so forth. Like, there are a lot of things that Fields technically didn't do, but from a quarterback perspective, Fields made some throws here that were just unbelievable. They were so strong, given who he was, what he came into this game as, and that he took 9 friggin' sacks last week. If you asked me his total grade, I would probably give him, like, if you told me to grade Fields as I would grade any rookie, or not any rookie, not a rookie scale, just straight up, he gets a B+. I think there were a couple things that technically, if it was a fifth-year quarterback or something like that, I would dock him a little bit harder than, say, a rookie. But as far as the rookie scale, to me, it's pretty strong A. Like, the strip sack is really the only one that I look at and take a piece off of his grade for, because I think everything else was a rookie mistake that you would expect out of rookies. I think the, 5 20-plus yard passes that he hit was well above his station. The strip sacks, it's just a potential turnover play, and that's going to bring down, an A+ to an A. But, yeah, that's one of those that I look at. I thought Fields played great. Like, he didn't get 40 attempts. He didn't get 30 attempts. He didn't get a ton of attempts at OSU either. He would just still put up 300 yards in like 22 throws. Oh, Rahul, that's the thing. Do I think he's going to be better than this? I think he's going to get better than this. But the 50-yard throw to Mooney, that is so hard to replicate. The fact that he hit it at all in the same week as he hit the that throw over the top. Nuts. So at this point, it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. One thing that the Bears have not done a good job with overall has been generating yak. Yeah, Tom agreed on like B+ overall. Again, cutting and drying, not giving him a rookie swerve, but instead just saying like, what is his like dead grade? B+, probably. Maybe a B if you really pushed me, but I really like to curve up the rookies because there's a lot of things that I see Fields, I see Mac Jones, I see even Zach Wilson doing, Trevor Lawrence, et cetera, that I look at and I'm like, they're rookies. It's going to happen. Like, there you go. Yeah, Eric, you hit him with the Bears curve. That grade goes way up. But, like, I'm thinking just standard. Basically, all I did to curve him was I took all the stuff that I would expect out of a rookie, or especially somebody like Justin Fields, who, like, his traits from college, and I would just say, okay, so let me, like, how much of that, like, how many of those rookie mistakes would I expect him to not make in the future, and went from there. But so let's see. I don't know, Rahul. It's hard to tell. Like, I thought about it. It sure felt like it. But at least now that they've announced Justin Fields, it sounds as if they had a meeting, they thought about it, and somebody probably told Matt Nagy, no, you've got to play. Like, you've got to play him. There's no way you can't play him. You saw those throws. You have to play him. At least that's the impression I get, because the fact that he went from Dalton's the starter if healthy on Monday to Fields is our starter going forward seems like something happened intervention, but I don't know. PJ, we start at 9 CST, 9 o'clock Central Time. We got a sweet little backflip right here. Backflip alert from, what is this, Marquise Goodwin, looks like, hitting us with this, like, that sweet stuff, but you get the idea. But yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Nice little back view of the backflip. Let's see. I don't know. Oh, yeah, that's a good question, Grant. But so, Elon, that's a good one. Either way, let's talk a little bit about defense. I think it's easiest to just sort of watch it unfold. So what the Lions did, of course, Rahul, I'm more than happy to. And PJ, thanks so much for saying that. I love you guys' support. Let me see, what time is it? Is it almost, are we at the midnight part? Goodness gracious. Are you guys kidding me? You people are insane. 220 people watching a breakdown at midnight? Are we all just crazy football heads? You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. But so, let's see. Yeah, no kidding. Let's keep going a little bit. Yeah, now we've got that nice little ASMR, right? We got that the Bears just talking through it. We're just moving through, right? We could put on some nice mood music. I gotta look for some. Let me see. Let's see. So I gotta see if I can't find on YouTube some sort of like royalty free like saxophone music for when we move into this part. So like once Allison goes to sleep, we get a little bit of or some sort of thing that we keep talking and so on and so forth. But yeah, no kidding, John. Like, well, we went through basically every offensive play. Like, John, we went through the whole thing. I had to give the people what they wanted, you know? But so yeah, exactly, Eric. Gotta whisper that breakdown. Like, I gotta get like a little neon sign up. Gosh, what is it like? A little like, welcome to the Bears room or something like that. Like, that'd be hilarious. But so, we went through every play for sure. If you like this sort of thing, thumbs up. Tell your friends. Support the channel however you can. One thing I will say, I try to squeeze this into everything that I can. It's always complicated because last thing I want to do is to be like the guy asking for money. You know the idea. But if we can make this channel full-time, you have no idea how much stuff I could do. Because my brain right now has to be split between a 40-50 hour consulting job that pays the bills and this. But man, you give me the whole 60 hours, like, and that's before the weekend. Whew, I've already thought about all the stuff I can do. But yeah, exactly, Elon. It's just a matter of support, like, as silly as that sounds. And if you want to do YouTube membership, that always helps. If Patreon's more your thing, that always helps. If single-time donations are great, like, anything. Even if it's just having a good time in the chat. Like, anything's helpful. Just wanted to throw that out there. But, because the best part is that, basically think about it this way. I own a Bears polo. Do you know how many teams I actually own things of? It's this and the Cowboys. Don't hate me. But so, like, I sit here and I look at it and it's like, I'm always going to be making stuff for the Bears. I would never not. Like, I love the Bears. But getting through a whole bunch of other teams, oh yeah, awesome. But so, like, I would love to talk more about other different things going on throughout the league. But anyways, that's my sales pitch. Just wanted to talk through that. Here's Mooney bailing out Justin Fields again. We didn't talk about that one yet. But so, like, super cool. But awesome. Like, oh, we're popping the Poggies out, Elon. Is that it? But so let's talk through Lions offense and or Bears defense. Because what happened, right? One thing that's cool is that the Lions pretty much did all the things that I like on offense. Like, here's what's funny. Eric, thanks so much for joining in, by the way. And oh yeah, A-Song. Like, this, it's somebody just said that. PJ, thanks for jumping in. You guys are great. So, talking through the Mooney catch, for those who missed it, because we were only at about 60 people there, somebody said that this looks harder than the one that he missed. 100%. Like 100%. I think this is hilarious because this specifically, this catch is extremely hard. Like, obviously it's not necessarily Odell Beckham Jr., but like it's really hard to figure out where his hands are and where his hands aren't. But he somehow pulls this ball in, and it is just bananas that he does. Either way, I still personally think that that was probably the play that really locked Justin Fields in, that his teammate bailed him out, and from there, he was set. But so anyways, Anthony Lynn did a really good job. I think a lot of people are going to do a little bit too much "it's the Lions," but they did, like, they ran very similar outside zone stuff to what the Bears like to run, and that really messed with the Bears defensive line that basically just tried to play downhill the whole game. And like, then from there, the Lions were able to pick up yards by yards in just little bunches. Wait, Case, triple one? What is triple one? Let's see, would I keep Daniels after this year? Cody, that's a good question. I'm not sure, and I think the question just comes down to probably price more than anything else. I would probably look at it, and I would love to add more, basically, to what they like, to what the Bears, or I would love to add more to the offensive line on basically all positions. Ooh, Case, I hadn't thought about that. That's sick. 1 to 11, like, but so let's see. Yeah, 100% about like not asking you to play a different position every year. Like, totally agree there. For me, like, Daniels right now looks a little above replacement level. I would tell you Jenkins and Borum. Hard to tell with Borum because basically every time he's gotten significant action, he's gotten hurt. So we'll have to see if he can stay healthy, because once is a fluke, twice is a pattern, even if it's a light pattern. But I do think that the Bears could throw some of their free agent money at anything on the offensive line. I mean, get a center, get a guard, get whether maybe a backup tackle. Like, I don't know. Like, I would throw a lot of resources at the offensive line if this was me, and we'd go from there. But that's just what I would do. But so here the Lions are rolling out. Like, seriously, the Lions did everything that we would want the Bears to do. I love this little, like, block and release. I love this. Oh, Elon, we can do that, but we don't need cap space for a new head coach. That's probably coming, though. But so, Lions do a nice little rollout, but what really sells it is that they drop this guy off. I would love to see the Bears do this, because it gives you a great backside option for when this rusher inevitably just like comes downhill. Goff basically can look and he can say, okay, Goff goes, okay, he's covered, okay, he's covered, okay, he's covered, let me just get the ball there. And so he does, he catches it, he bursts forward, he gets 5 yards. It's easy, you know? Like, it's not hard, it's not complicated. But if you guys remember this game, the Lions were as much annoying as they were efficient. Not because they were blowing the scoreboard up and not because they were getting tons of yards. They just took forever because they had the ball forever, for crying out loud. Like, little things like this, where another thing that did not help anything was that the Bears could not seem to get near the trench advantage that they're used to in this one. This one's hilarious because Eddie Goldman gets beat from basically bad luck. Like, if you watch this play specifically, check out the fact that Eddie Goldman either hears a check or something, but he basically turns around and like, he just gets caught. Watch this, just getting up. Like, he turns around to make a check as the ball is snapped and ends up getting the guy's hands right at his chest. I think it's funny more than anything, because you can forget sometimes that these guys aren't, that they're human beings, basically. And this is just a funny goof up that gets his lineman right on top of him, and so on and so forth. But, oh yeah, like, I agree with you, Case. I mean, Cephas, for instance, I think, as silly as it is, let me see. Like, I think that Cephas looks solid. I think that, oh gosh, I'm on St. Raw. Seems pretty solid, all things told. Like, it's not that the Lions are terrible, because they're an NFL team, right? For every, you show me a terrible, terrible team, and they're bound to have like two diamonds in the rough. They just won't be good overall, because it'll be two diamonds in the rough, six okay to bad guys, two really bad guys, and the diamonds, right? But in this case, like, you watch this game, you keep going, and I said it already, it was just kind of a down game, but here the Lions do, like, they wash the offensive line over, pull somebody across, and that's what you want, because from there you're basically trying to do everything you can to just skip the trench, right? That this more challenges Ogletree to get downhill, or Shelley to come make a play, and Ogletree tries to get in there, but somebody comes through and blocks him. It's gorgeous. It gets Roquan, like, it puts Roquan at the center of the action, and he gets off and makes a play, but not before they picked up 7 or 8 yards. I mean, it's just creative stuff that honestly attacked the Bears, as I think any defense should. If anything, the Bears are going to need to figure out how to stop a lot of this stuff, because I tend to think that a lot of teams are going to look at what the Lions did, and they're going to be like, we just got to do that. We got to do that again. Like, posts and and pulling guys over and getting through, because what you want to do against the Bears, you want to just, this is where they're going to hurt you. They're going to hurt you on the inside, whether it is specifically Khalil Mack or whether it's specifically Quinn's not on the field, but Quinn's pretty dangerous. Whether it's Akeem Hicks, Eddie Goldman, Bilal Nichols, Kyrus Tonga. Like, there are a lot of names on this defensive line. Angelo Blackson had himself a very solid game, but with this, you want to avoid him. I think you still want to avoid him. You want to avoid him, and literally everything else is fair game. So, the Lions did a really good job of ISOing up Ogletree specifically as much as they could. And everybody struggles with getting to Vildor. We can go through that later. Vildor is really solid about hanging on for just a little bit, but I mean, in this play, it's funny. Like, I didn't realize that I was, preaching to, it's not preaching anything specifically. Looks like Deion Bush is a little late to recognize here. Let's see. The assonance? Yeah, so Bush is guarding his grass, which is neat and all, but he doesn't quite get to the whole shot. I think you would like him to. Like, he even slips triggering down on this. I'm not trying to destroy Deion Bush, because obviously he had that blown coverage we already talked about, but you probably want your safety in the theoretical world adjusting his route down to the hole shot as soon as you see this guy drifting up specifically. Like, this is one where you'd probably want him to just get into the mix a little bit sooner. And as much as everybody kills Eddie Jackson for a whole bunch of the stuff that he does, Ejax does a better job, I think, of staying with the play. In this case, he's on top of it, for instance. Oh, and I know, Grant, a cover 2 beater beats cover 2, but that you've got to be able... Okay, so when I say you've got to, it's like they run a cover 2 beater. If this was the Bears, I'd be saying it's a good call against a good defense. And it's not cover 2 because it's technically cover 6, but it's cover 2 to that side, so all the same thing. The only way you're going to stop a cover 2 hole shot is if the safety gets on top of it. If the safety recognizes, oh shoot, this is a hole shot, I got to cover that, then you might have a shot at taking this ball away. Or not like a pick, but even just deflecting it. But Bush doesn't. Lions get yards. But yeah, like you're talking about, Case, I actually have a lot of really positive things to say about the way that Anthony Lynn attacked this game. And this is a good example. This is going to... Bless you, honey. This is going to sound awfully, this is going to sound awfully specific, I guess you could say. But this play right here that you're about to watch is a good example of the Bears' defensive pass rush on what we'll call a neutral setting. No stunt, no nothing, and they really don't get anything. Like, to me, personally, this is the Bears' pass rush. And that didn't have Quinn, that didn't have Gibson, that didn't have a lot of the things that makes their pass rush really solid. But I I would hold to the stunts and the games and the other stuff that they've got going on front is what makes them who they are, uh, and not so much individual pass rushing talent. But here it looks like Eddie Goldman almost makes a play. Thank God for you mods. You guys do a great job here. But so Eddie Goldman gets into the lane, but gets just pushed out of it. Like, this is exactly how you would attack the Bears. Just wash their linemen aside. Because, like, this kind of outside zone action, it's stuff that the Bears are already doing. You've seen a ton of outside zone. But this sort of thing helps just try to get around dealing with Eddie Goldman, with Roquan Smith, etc., etc. We don't need to watch a ton of Lions. Like, it's y'all's call. We could talk about whatever we want. Because we might wind down here fairly soon, honestly. Like, we're hitting the 3.5 hour mark, and we could keep going, but really, I think the Raiders game is going to be more interesting. Maybe I'll see if I can't throw together a preview stream. Maybe. Let me know if that sounds fun. But, we don't need to. Like, I could also just release something else, but it'll be cool to see what happens. Let's see here. So then the Bears tried to run blitz, and they actually get some, like, good stuff out of it. Because here you're going to see, it looks like they send, like, Smith and Ogletree to just jam into the gaps way early on, which helps at least stifle some of the motion, but they still get their one. Let's see. Bear down STC. Absolutely. And I agree, Elon. It does seem to me like the Raiders game is going to be really say, or what's the word? It's going to be really telling. Let me see. Interesting. Man. That's wild, a song. I hadn't heard about that. But so, let's take a look here. Tonga had a great game against the Browns. I'm very curious to see how his career continues to progress, because always hard to know exactly how that sort of thing's going to go. And this one thing that the Bears have done a really good job with, it's probably just Sean Desai magic, but they'll occasionally just send Eddie Jackson to knife through, and he creates some havoc here. Ogletree also makes a really nice play, hits the guy right in front of him. But every once in a while, the Bears will leverage the exact talent they have to just go make a play. Like, really solid job right there. Ogletree slips through his man, literally leaves his guy right there on his knees, and just flies on through. Yeah, case, Eddie is good at the line of scrimmage. He ties him up he times up snap counts really well. But so, Ogletree gets straight through. Good job just reading the assignment and makes the tackle. Ryan, I have to think that Carr has a ton of options. The question is, because, like, for instance, Waller on Roquan is another good matchup. That's going to sound insane, but Waller is just so big that I would be curious to see if Roquan, who should be able to match feet with him, will get out physical or not. Like, a huge person like Waller would be the sort of person, or would be exactly the matchup that I would worry about a little bit more with Quan. But at the same time, I like you're saying, A-Song, Carr has a tendency, and I think we've all seen it, to kind of be great in September, and then the clock strikes October, and Cinderella goes home. Like, Carr tends to be his best self really early in the season. And maybe it's just that the hits start piling up. Maybe it's partially that it gets colder. And it won't get cold in the Vegas Dome. So nobody can hope for that. But Carr does tend to get worse as it seems to go. But like you're saying, Zaki, the Bears don't have the pressure that their sacks suggest they do. Even so, if they can just get a couple of QB knockdowns, I think that they can do a whole lot of the good things. So this is the one problem, by the way. If you've ever wondered why the Bears don't run more stunts, this is why. Because you can give up contain pretty easily. So Jared Goff actually did a pretty good job of hurting the Bears when they did give up running lanes just like this. Like that. But they, like in this case, that's a really solid play by Jalen Johnson. I can't remember, did they, oh no, they just called it what was the penalty? What did they call that? But so, yeah, Callahan blitzing was so fun. Johnson, by the way, had an up and down game. I don't know. It really was, watching this game, like the whole defense had such, they played on such a 2-week heater that, thank you, that they came into this one, and I don't think they necessarily underestimated anything. Maybe it really is the impact of missing Akeem Hicks and only Akeem Hicks, but like, I just thought that they had a relative down game, and that's okay. It's gonna happen. Oh man, Tonga's been drawing a lot of flags, and then we had the world's most Lions play ever. Bounce, catch. Haha. It's funny every time. But so, I don't know, Ryan. I am not a crystal ball guy, but I would love to know. Like, I think Hicks playing helps, certainly. I think that the Bears can stop the run outside of that, like outside of Hicks, but this game was not a positive one. Like, for run defense perspectives, that it was not exactly great. Oh, here's the gorgeous one. Thank you, Jordan. Thanks so much for jumping in. But so we can just bask in the glory a little bit. Full on, what is his name? Keith Lee, WWE. My little brother used to be huge in WWE. I know way more about that than I probably should. But so we're just gonna bask in this glory of this throw. It is a laser. I think it's even prettier in this setting. Like, check this out. Like, we've got the all 22, so you don't necessarily need, yeah, Michael Elon. You figured it out. But so, Fields sees Mooney's about to bake this cover 3 corner. This guy's on the opposite hash, so he gives a quick check to the safety. He says, all right, he's out of position, so you can already see him stepping up. Gorgeous work. Fires. Boom. Perfect. Absolutely flawless. We'll get the end zone view in now. iGhost, I am so sorry. I didn't intend to just ignore you. What'd you say? Let me see. I'm trying to look up. I don't see it yet. Ask it again. But Elon, you beat me too. Like, you beat me on the week you lost Christian McCaffrey. Freaking kidding me? But let's see. Yeah, so let's go to... We'll watch, like, one defensive drive. Let's just do second half. Because they just kept going. We don't need to talk about Simba Webster. I am going to be really curious to see what happens with Jakeem Grant. I've always liked Grant out of school, but in the sense that I like him as I'm not even a huge draft guy, right? But he's one of those guys that I just always thought was fun. Thoughts on moving Daniels? Oh God, don't move him again. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Mustafer's a huge problem, but to think that switching positions is the next call, I don't know about that. I really don't. Like, I think the more you switch these guys' positions, the worse and worse they get. Like, it's just a matter of hand placement, right? Basically, envision this, okay? We're going to do a demonstration at midnight. So, you asked for this. Okay. So, I'm not even an offensive lineman guy, but I've heard enough about this that I know what's going on, all right? So, the reason that you can't just keep switching positions is because it's a matter of when you're in, it's almost like a fighting stance, but when you are playing right guard, you punch with your outside hand, and then you control with your inside hand. So it's your right hand and then your left hand. But when you're playing left guard, your feet change, your hands change. You punch with your left hand, you control with your right hand, and you shuffle, obviously, the other feet. So this is like becoming a switch hitter. Like, it's exactly, Jordan, kind of getting on that. It's like batting right-handed and being like, well, can't they just bat left-handed? Obviously, we would think that's ridiculous, right? Like, a right-handed pitcher can't just pitch left-handed, but that's kind of what being like, well, can Leno play right tackle, is like saying. And I'm using Leno as a goofy example, but when you keep switching these guys' positions, when Daniel's a left guard and now he's a right guard, and when Whitehair's a right guard or a left guard and then he's a center, like, you end up with just so much mush from a hand perspective. And my opinion, leave him somewhere. Like, if you changed Daniels' position again, you would have to fix the right guard spot. Like, that's the problem. And so, in my opinion, you can figure out, what's the word? You can figure out the center either another time or just live with it. Because you always knew it was kind of going to be a problem. But in my opinion, like, you don't need to move them around at will, because every time you move them, they get a little worse, and gosh, and they're not necessarily going to be, or then they leave a hole at the other spot. But you get the idea. Yeah, exactly, Hitesh. Like, you want them just firing, but Case, come on. But so, thank goodness for the emoji. I was like, oh no. Because I get that request. It's like, why doesn't Hicks play line? And I'm like, it's hard. But so, let's see here. Yeah, the Lions just got crafty. I mean, not everything worked, but they really didn't take a lot of negative plays. Like, it's the sort of thing where Grant, that's hilarious. They called screens. They just kept wind back blocking. They tried to basically just confuse the Bears and attack their weak areas. Credit to them, it worked. Like, in this case, it looks like Quinn just gets there. This was a really nice play, by the way, by Duke Shelley. Like, credit to him. This was a solid little carry and, like, knock away. Don't get me wrong. This receiver, is this Cephas, by the way? Like, I can't quite remember, because every time I do a Bears game, it's like a blur. But Shelley stays with the guy well enough, tips that away. Solid. Like, this was pretty. And not to mention, I always love it when Quinn just scares the quarterback. Like, Quinn even just getting there, as silly as that is, like, that is enough to kind of freak a quarterback out to where he just has to throw it. If he had a little bit more time, maybe he makes a play, but not in that case. But exactly, John. Like, they're trying to cover the goal as much as they can, and now they keep shrinking goalies' pads, but that's a conversation for a completely different sport. So, pretty much the only highlight of the Bears game on defense, that is that when we... So, Jordan, don't think of it so much as Duke hate. I mean, everybody always takes things too far, right? I don't think Duke is any solution at nickel. I do think he's getting better. I just would have hoped he would have been better by now, because this is his third year. So, I don't know. That's where I'm at, is his improvement is helpful. I don't know if he's the nickel solution forever, but he's settling into his role. He looks less confused, so credit there. Hopefully, he keeps making plays. If he does, good. But, JC, I don't know, but I guess I'm glad I do. But so, or what is the whole bit? I guess we'll never know. But so, I use imported Game Pass, and you guys funded it. So that's all. That's all just applause to you guys for making it work. But so, oh gosh, did I really? Apologies, I started the drive over again. Yeah, Vildor is a nickel. I really do feel like that part's weird. But that's the thing, Grant. I think Duke Shelley has acquitted himself pretty well as an NFL player, but he's definitely not a nickel corner. And that's actually not really a demerit because I don't think people understand how hard nickel corner is. Like, okay, so quickly talking about this, like, let me see a basic cover set and I'll just show what this looks like. But, so what's strange about, good night, Elon, have a great one. We need to get to, let's see. Oh man, Jordan, you need so much. You need, like, yeah, Case, you're getting to it. Like, well, I'll show as soon as we've actually got a really solid, like, pulled out formation of some kind. But the outside corners don't have to cover. Okay, here's not a bad example, right? Let's compare the duties of an outside corner with the nickel corner, right? The outside corner looks like it's Kindle Vildor, has to cover pretty much just, let's draw it, about that. Like, more or less, you just have to cover that. Because chances are they're not going to run on the inside. If they do, it'll look like this. But the sideline is your friend. Obviously, there's nothing out here that counts. And so you can basically play the boundary similar to the way that a goalie plays the post in any sport with a ball in it. So at this point, like, the outside corner just has to cover that. The inside corner, Duke Shelley, he has to cover, let's see. Yeah, he pretty much just needs to cover all of it. Because if his guy runs over there, okay, cover it. If he runs there, cover it. There, cover it. That, cover it. Like, the nickel corner has to cover anything and everything. Now, they're not always going to be in man. Like, it's not the sort of thing where he's always got to cover literally anything. Ideally, Desai is going to continue to set up. Yeah, I know, Case. That's why I tried to cover this. It's just because we don't need to go there. But this is the sort of thing that I would look at and I would say, like, what Sean Desai needs to help him out with is that Duke Shelley needs, I would argue, less responsibility in the first place. Don't call defenses like he is going to cover everybody and every route tree. Like, you instead can ideally just leave him in single spots in the zone, and I think that at least helps him pare down what he has to do on a snap-to-snap basis, but it's not an exact science. So we'll let him kind of grow into the role as Desai figures out what to do with him, and I do think he's going to get better, but matchups like the one that he's got this week are going to hurt. The one against Renfro, yeah, that's not a good one. Roquan, by the way, with one of the more blatant DPIs I've seen in a while. This was funny watching on the All-22 because you always forget about this kind of thing. Like, check this out. Roquan goes, "Get out of here," and that's that. Like, it's funny to me, if only because, like, Roquan doesn't hit him that hard. He just kind of jams him, but the receiver just falls right over and draws the call. Like, it's just funny. Like, I would tell you, Case, I think Roquan's trying to robot. Like, I don't think he's trying to shove the guy. In fact, maybe the guy flopped a little bit, but it is hilarious. Like, the way that he goes down like a rock. Like, throws the ball, bang. Let's see, boom. But so, yeah, DP Roquan. I love this kind of thing. Yeah, I DPI'd him. What about it? But so, yeah, Roquan's amped. He's like, oh, what? There's a flag? Who would have thought? But yeah, life moves on. Comes at you fast, though. These are the kinds of plays that I would look at, and I would say, if there's anything to worry about from this game, it's stuff like this, where Eddie Goldman gets moved about there to there. So, pretty far, all things told. And then the running back picks up a head of steam, Roquan gets chipped, and the running back picks up 10 yards. Obviously, showing like a 10-yard ball is or a 10-yard run is going to make anybody look not so great, but it's more that Eddie kind of struggled in his return. All things told, it wasn't bad. It was just not at the level the Bears' defensive line has been playing, which has been nuts. So hopefully a week's worth of conditioning will help him out. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it does, because he was coming off of a couple weeks. But yeah, Roquan over pursues just a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, you got to get Jordan. Getting to Derek Carr is going to be big, and scoring, as silly as it sounds. Like, I think that there's a decent chance that the Bears are going to have to win this next game at least 24-21. But it won't hold up forever. That's for doggone sure. It will not surprise me if, as has been the case for the Raiders, this one's going to come down to the final seconds of the game. They have been cardiac Raiders the whole year, and it wouldn't surprise me if this is exactly the kind of game we're due for, is another game that comes all the way down to the last little bit. And honestly, Jordan, this is going to sound ridiculous. I don't think Jalen's going to run with Ruggs, but it wouldn't surprise me if he could just pass off, or if Jalen plus Eddie is going to be able to handle it. This is exactly the kind of guy that if Eddie can bring his A game, he can at least help to shut him down, which is big. But yeah, we'll see. Let's see. That's solid. Let's see. Yeah, really solid overall. Let's get this going. Yeah, pass defense, Ryan, should be your concern going into almost everything, unfortunately. Jay, if you asked me right now for the defense or the offense to make a stop, I'd pick the defense, but give it 2 weeks and I'll be taking the offense 100%. I think the offense needs just a little bit to find their footing. This, for instance, might have been Jalen's worst play of the season, and it's not even that bad. Jalen's had an incredible season, and he basically gets beat on what accounts as almost a triple move, if not a quadruple move. Check this out. So, 1, 2, 3. Finally, he's open. Eddie over pursues. So, one thing that is hilarious is that Eddie Jackson will trigger so early on things. He'll get to spots because he thinks he needs to get to one spot, but he ends up getting there so quick that when he just eats it trying to change direction, he completely embarrasses himself. He completely embarrasses himself. And it is a heck of a route, 100%. That's Cephas. He does a great job here of just a triple move. But credit to the one thing that the Lions were able to do was that they were able to create scenarios where the Bears the Lions didn't do this. One thing that Goff did pretty well with, I would say, is that he was able to manage the Bears' pressure for the overwhelming majority of the plays. Now, obviously, people remember the sacks, right? Because the Bears got to Goff a good couple times. They got a forced fumble, so on and so forth. But there were a whole lot of plays just like this where the Bears got no pressure at all, basically, and Goff was able to generate something. Credit to him. Hopefully, Carr doesn't do the same thing, because he could. Carr's more mobile. He's got a bigger arm. Maybe not more mobile. Actually, they might be similarly mobile. But, yeah, I can't help but agree, Jordan, that I think that there is a lot to be excited about on the Bears' defensive line. It's just a matter of whether they can play up to that standard. So, final series here, because this is what I wanted to show you. The bright side is that the Bears' bend don't break defense stiffens up a little bit when you get into the red area. Once you're at this spot, you start to get to the point where the Bears just don't have to cover as much room, so they cover it really well. Goff, for instance, takes a look, covered, just junk the ball. Second down. It's a good play by Goff. It's smart. Why force it? I think he could have been a little more patient and found a crosser, but it's not like anything crazy's open. So then they run the ball, and big TFL. Once you get like to this red area, the Bears are able to just start coming after you. And here is your Quinn play. Bet you didn't think it would be Robert Quinn knifing through, did ya? Like, just going, bang. You're confident in coverage, Grant, you mean like in the red area? Or do you mean overall? But yeah, like once you get down to here, you can't go that far back. And I think that the Bears really benefit from him. Oh yeah, case. Robert Quinn deletes tight ends. So then you've got the Bears give up too much pressure, but it's a third down, so they get Goff running. You're in. Like, you got him. So here, Roquan makes a nice little play, as does Quinn and Ogletree, just making sure that they don't juke him. But you can take a look at the coverage here. Like, once again, they get them all wrapped up. Not much Ejax, or I think that's Hawkinson. Hawkinson's on Ejax, and Ejax does a great job with him, by the way. Just generally ISOing him up. Credit to him, because Hawk really tries to throw him around. This is the one-on-one matchup they want, and the Bears win it. Like, Ejax just step for step sticks right on him, and the rest of the Bears coverage comes through too. Let me see, is this the play that I had marked down? Yes. So the beauty of Kindle Vildor, I don't know what to call this. Like, the beauty and the pain of Kindle Vildor is that right here, Kindle Vildor is going to cover for 3 seconds, no longer, if 3 seconds. Like, take a look at Kindle Vildor, top of your screen. 1, 2, done. Like, at this point, open. If you push the ball, especially if you got this guy out of the way. Like, you can throw to him at this point, but Goff's already committed. Where Vildor is good, honestly, good, is that he likes to play man so much that he'll stick to his guy, especially in the redder areas, to where it's not quite like Buster Screen was, unfortunately, in the back half of 2020, where Buster Screen was practically free yardage. And it's not like Kyle Fuller, where Fuller would sit like 10 yards off. We all love Fuller, but we all remember those, where it was like, I don't know, I'm just going to throw a bubble to the guy who's covering Fuller, or to the guy Fuller's covering, and he's going to get 7 yards. Vildor will stick to his guy for about 2.5, 3 if you're lucky seconds, no longer, and then he'll just lose him. Like, this play is a touchdown if Goff is looking there, but he looks there too early. It's hilarious, right? And I say it's hilarious because it's almost cruel. Like, Goff checks him, and when he does, I'll freeze frame it. Goff's looking at him right now. Vildor has him, right? Why would he break past Vildor? That looks locked up as locked up gets. So when Goff scrambles, still got his eyes on him. It looks like this is where he just loses sight. He doesn't see him coming open necessarily, and Goff gets down, 4th down. And Reinhardt, I'm so pro go for it, especially when you're down 7. But I do think that if the Lions had just collected field goals when they got the chance, well, I don't know, because it wouldn't have fixed the Nichols fumble. They were never expecting that. But here they tried something tricksy and they did not get it. Like, credit to Ogletree in this setup, where, like, Ogletree simulates pressure and drops off. They think they've got something with a post route right there. Credit to Ogletree, who just hops up, makes the play. And also credit to the pass rush, who got home when they needed to. I think it's Mac this time. Like, Mac comes around the edge, and he and the pass rush did not have a great game overall. But, boom, there he is. And oh yeah, that's a good point. Hawk is way open. Way open. Let's see how that happened. Let's see. Is Bojack just ISOing him up again? Looks like it. And yeah, that's the one you want. That's it right there. That's open. Like, good play by Hawkinson. Not much Ejac was going to do getting ground there. I don't think he needs to be that close to the line. But, I mean, what do I know? But so either way, they get the 4th down stop off the tip ball. Hooray. But so, let's see. There's one more play that I think we can go through. Literally just one. And, you know, at the core of your being, you all know what it is. Let's see. Because we have to. We have to watch it again. Yes, there it is. Jordan, we're almost there. For everybody who's stuck right here, let's just watch it one more time. Whoosh. Whether or not this is caught, I could just watch this play over and over and over and over. And PJ, I am tired. It's been a long time unit. But this play is so just unbelievably nice. Like, just whoosh. This is the stuff. This isn't even the stuff you dare to dream about when you think, oh, we drafted a quarterback. What's he going to be like? Like, this is just gorgeous. Whoosh. Finds this guy downfield. Throws. Almost gets it. Could have been a long gainer. Oh, well. Like, that's the hope. That's absolutely the hope, John. Well, you guys have been awesome. You're great. You're also nuts. You need to go to sleep too. Probably. Unless you're on the West Coast. Like, if you're on the West Coast, hey, maybe it's bedtime. But if you aren't, like, let me see. Let's see. So, talking through placement real fast, because I know that there's a big Mooney movement. In my opinion, a rookie quarterback doesn't need to be thrown cross-body. Once you get to the point where you are able to see that and throw it, maybe. But at this point, I personally think the one-on-one, the free ball with Komet is easier. But, so, you take the easy one, so on and so forth. You guys are awesome. Justin Fields played really well. Can't wait to see what happens in Vegas. Like, it should be great. It is 1 in the morning, I think, where I am. Yep. 1 in the morning, 100%. So, we're grinding, you know. We're gonna win. So, yeah. Support the channel however you can. You guys are great. And I will see you next week. Peace out.